I know many of you want to hustle and get out of here to find your spot out there, so we will try and get this moving.
I'd like to make a motion to defer
all cases. Okay, that's not a bad idea.
Motion denied.
team player.
So just a reminder, please make sure your cell phones are off. If you have conversations, please take them outside of the room. And in accordance with the open meeting law, this meeting is being live streamed. Again, I ask that if you're here to speak either in support or in opposition of the project, please do not repeat any issue or anything else that somebody ahead of you has already stated. Give us new information. If your concern has already been addressed, put your name and address on the record so we can acknowledge that you were at this meeting. Okay? Mr. Fortune?
Do you have all board members?
Oh, no, I think we can start because these are extensions.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. The first order of business is the approval of the hearing minutes of January 15th, 2019. We need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the first case for extension, calling BOA 545247, 4 Cleveland Place. Name and address for the record, please.
Matthew Cushel, 386 Commercial Street, Boston, Mass. 02109.
Why you're requesting an extension?
So we went to secure the permit that was approved on July 19th, but it was approved after the approval from the zoning had expired, and we didn't realize that we needed an extension if we'd already applied for the permit.
Okay, so your original permit from 2 years ago had already expired. What held you back from actually moving ahead in that period of time? Because then at that point it's not an extension, it's a new appeal because of course your time has expired.
Right, so the building permit hadn't been approved prior to the expiration of the zoning.
Well, was it in process, that is, were your drawings in the building department at the time?
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I'm going to make a motion for a 1-year extension.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling VOA 615-910, 55 West 5th Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mark Lacasse, Lacasse Law, 75 Arlington Street in Boston, attorney for the applicant 40B Street LLC. This is an application request for a 1-year extension for a decision which was became final after a signature by this board on March 6, 2017, so it's still valid. We have been working with the BPDA on design review and various other matters related to the Article 80 approvals. Also, this was a subdivision of a parcel of land which is registered, which required land court approval. We recently obtained the land court approval of the subdivision, and the final plans have been submitted to ISD, and we expect the permit actually very soon, but just out of an abundance of caution, seek a 1-year extension.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for a 1-year extension.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Calling the next case for G-Card, calling BOA 909-643, 213 West Springfield Street. Is West Springfield Street here? Madam Chair, we do have the letter. I don't know if
Christian,
Mr.
would you
Simonelli
like
wants to speak.
Say anything?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Christian Simonelli, Boston Groundwater Trust, and we do have the approval letter from Boston Water and Sewer. I'd also like to add my support for the display of the coach jersey for today's proceedings. Thank you.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case for building code, calling BOA 909-655, 158 Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, okay. This is installing new roof deck according to plans, walkout skylight to provide and install violations of 9th edition 780 CMR, 1011 stairways, 1011.12.2 roof access. Where a stairway is provided to a roof, access to that roof shall be provided through a penthouse complying with section 1510.2. Name and address for the record, please.
Yep, Dustin Nolan, DNA Architecture, located at 745 Boylston Street.
Did the request for the roof deck come to this board?
The request, so the roof deck itself is actually, that's by right. So there was no request for the roof deck. It's simply just for the access to the roof deck. So it's a 4-story, single-family structure. Had an existing roof deck that we're replacing, which was accessed just via a small hatch. And so we are in Beacon Hill, and the issue with the access is a full penthouse would be visible from a public way and not adhere to the guidelines of the Architectural Commission and would not be approved.
Okay. Mr. Bassani?
Yes, we've reviewed the drawings, and you're using a solar innovation hatch, right?
Correct. Yep.
Make a motion to grant relief requested. It's a single family, and a head house would be inappropriate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you.
I'm going to call the 9:30 hearings. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? Counselor, address?
And before we get started, as of now, we do not have a full board. We are missing one member, so anybody who's scheduled for earlier this morning may automatically request a deferral, or they can go ahead, but you just need to be informed that you have to have all members in support of your proposal.
Address, Counselor?
535 East 4th Street.
For the record, calling BOA 896-628, 535 East 4th Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller, 28 State Street, Suite 802 here in Boston. We had a second abutter meeting scheduled for this past Thursday that was canceled due to extreme cold, and we weren't able to get into the room where we were supposed to have the meeting. It was locked and unavailable. So we actually have a rescheduled abutter meeting the week of February 25th that we're working with John Allison at the mayor's office. As a result, we'd ask for the quickest deferral you could give us. We should be ready for the next available hearing.
Motion to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
We're going to get a date. We'll squeeze you in on March 12th
Thank you
at
very, very
11:30.
much. We appreciate it. Thank you. At 11:30?
Correct. Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals? Tim, address, please.
2 Ludlow Street in Charlestown.
Calling BOA 883-295, 2 Ludlow Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Timothy Shan, I'm the architect for the project, 9 Wall Street in Charlestown. We need more time to work with the neighbors. We have our second neighborhood meeting coming up this fall, Monday coming up on the 11th. But we still have a lot of work to do with the neighbors.
Okay.
Make a motion for deferral.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You know, we are reluctant to give too many deferrals, so just for as far as what the time is that you're requesting for the next hearing date, just make sure it's realistic.
We're not in a rush.
Okay.
We need some time to work with the neighbors.
Okay, so with that information, Mark.
We can go into May 21st, if that works.
Sure.
Okay, so May 21st.
Thank you all.
You're all set. Good luck.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? Counselor?
Morning. For property 186 London Street,
Which one, I'm sorry?
186 London Street in Ward 1, 6.
London Street, 186?
Yes.
Are you speaking on it, or are you deferring?
No, it's my house.
Oh, it is, okay.
I'm withdrawing.
You're withdrawing. Okay, I'm going to call it for the record. Calling BOA 906-285, 186 London Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Lydia Edwards, 186 London Street, East Boston, 02128.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion for denial without prejudice.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals? Hearing none, we're going to call the first case. Calling BOA 862-277, 337 Chelsea Street. This is raise an existing building, erect a 4-unit residential dwelling. The violations, Article 53, Section 56. Off-street parking and loading requirement, none is proposed. Article 53, Section 8. MFR use is forbidden. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient lot size, 2,000 square foot minimum is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient additional lot area per unit, 1,000 square feet unit minimum is required. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR 1.0 is the maximum allowed. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive, 35 feet is the maximum allowed. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space, 300 square foot unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback, 2.5 feet minimum required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback, 25 feet is the minimum required. Article 53, Section 9, the number of stories has been exceeded, a 3-story maximum is allowed. And Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering, none is proposed. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. On behalf of the petitioner, to my right is Tria Larea. She's the architect with Joy Street Design, the architect for the project. Also with me is Brad Cantamilla, the owner of the property and proponent for this proposal. Madam Chair, this property is located just on the edge of Day Square in East Boston. It's an existing single-family structure. As you can see from the photos that have been provided, the building is structurally unsound. We've had an engineer look at this building. It is likely in need of demolition relatively quickly. Our proposal is to rebuild a 4-unit building on this site based upon the plans that we've provided here. Upon completion, this project would be intended for home ownership, so this would create 4 additional condominium units for this neighborhood. By way of just brief context for this area, there have been a number of projects as of late that have been presented and approved in and around the edge of Day Square, including buildings of similar character, height, and size at both 331 and 348 Chelsea. Both of those are actually under construction presently. Along Bremen Street to the rear of this property, there are also a number of multifamilies that have been proposed and approved. This would be consistent in both height and scale and size. Its proximity to public transportation is within walking distance to both Wood Island Station as well as the airport station and Bremen Street Park as well. The unit sizes range from about 930 square feet up to about 1,100 square feet. And it's a mix of 3 2-bedrooms and one bedroom. By way of zoning, I can run through the relief that's necessary first. This is located at 3F2000 district, and therefore a multifamily would be not allowed and therefore requires a variance. With respect to additional lot area for each additional dwelling unit, we're requesting a variance as the lot size is only 1,875 square feet. Our side
What's
yard,
the lot size, sorry?
1,875.
Okay.
With respect to the side yard, we do have a side yard, one set at 3 feet, the other set at 0. The requirement is 2.5 feet. In addition, we're requesting a variance for the floor area ratio, which we're proposing at 2.1, which is in excess of the 1.0. Our building will be about 37.5 feet tall total, but a total of 4 stories. And that's to allow for the duplex upper level units that we proposed. The maximum height limit is 35 feet for this district, but as I mentioned, the trend in this particular neighborhood is to actually have higher heights, especially around the square.
Yeah, we were just talking about zoning by variance.
Understood.
Yep.
And the open space requirement would be 1,200 square feet total. We're proposing 775 square feet. Last but not least is parking. The 3 additional units we're proposing would require one parking space per unit, and therefore a variance would be necessary for off-street parking. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Tell us about the unit sizes.
Unit sizes range from about 930 square feet for a 1-bedroom up to about 1,100 square feet, and the remainder are all 2 bedrooms.
What's the total number of bedrooms in the building?
7.
Is this photo meant to show that it's about to fall over on the...
I think that, I don't know that it's leaning on the building next door, Mr. Ehrlich, but I believe it's very close.
How are the plans designing?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal? Is anybody here to speak in support?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office on Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. The applicant presented the project in a Barnes meeting back in September and also in front of the Eagle Hill Civic Association. During the Barnes meeting, the concerns were more about the traffic and parking in the area, but no really anything concerns about the proposal. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? I do have one question for the architect. The BRA recommends a design review with special attention to the finished flow elevation as the ground floor is within the FEMA flood zone. Has that been accounted for in the drawings?
We were not aware that it was in the flood zone. It appears to be out of the flood zone, but we have a project pushed up to the front door of Unit 1 in order to be out of the flood zone. So we'll take a closer look at that and make the accommodation if necessary.
If I can add to that, Madam Chair, the building at 331, which is further towards the middle of the block, has more of its property within the flood zone. It's a close call. I believe that the maps that we've reviewed actually showed the flood zone creeps towards the back of the property. So we think as you get closer to the square, the elevation's a little bit different. But we are cognizant of that and have worked it out at 331 as well.
May we have a motion, please?
Motion for approval, BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling the next two cases, calling BOA 879012, 1 Coppersmith Way. The companion case, BOA 879010, 6 Coppersmith Way. This is for 1 Coppersmith. This is erecting a new 3-family house and roof, rear decks. Violations, Article 53, Section 16. The excessive FAR, 1.0 is the max. Article 53, Section 16. Insufficient lot width, 35 feet is required. Article 53, Section 15, a 3-family detached use is forbidden. Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking loading requirement. None is proposed. This is for 6 Coppersmith, erecting a new 3-family house, a roof and rear decks. Violation Article 53, Section 56. Off-street parking, loading, insufficient parking, 1 space per unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, the number of allowed stories has been exceeded. 3 stories is the max. Article 53, Section 9, the maximum allowed height has been exceeded. 35 feet is the max. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient lot size, 3,000 square feet is required. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR, 1.0 is the max. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space unit, 300 square feet the unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback, 2.5 feet is required. On Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback, 10 feet is the minimum. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. On behalf of the petitioner, with me is Doug Medvitz, the owner of the properties at 1 and 6 Coppersmith Way. Madam Chair, these are companion cases in the sense that they are very similar in design, style, and ownership. Interestingly, they both lie in 2 separate zoning districts. One is in the waterfront commercial district, as well as the other being in the 3F 2000 district. While the proposals are identical and the lot sizes are similar, certainly the zoning relief that's necessary for each would vary based upon the 2 districts. By way of context, this is located immediately adjacent to the Coppersmith Village project, which is a 5-story multifamily project being done by the neighborhood of affordable housing. There are a number of other projects along both Coppersmith Way, which are under construction now, as well as Border Street. We've done outreach to the direct abutters, especially the ones along Border Street who support this proposal. Based upon the amount of development that's occurring in and around this immediate area, it makes sense that these properties are improved, and that's one of the reasons we're proposing what we're proposing. Just by way of a brief summary for the unit sizes, again, identical in size. Unit 3, being the largest at 3 bedrooms, is about 1,500 square feet because it is a duplex-style unit. The lower levels contain what we call single-bedroom units, but they're around 555 square feet. These easily could be modified to studio. However, we're asking the board to consider the unique nature of this building for purposes of the minimum unit size as a 1-bedroom.
What is unique about it?
The size of the lots are very, very relatively small.
Okay, and tell us, of course, the violations are different, but tell us about the height and the FAR.
Sure. Both buildings are proposed at 4 stories, 40 feet, 8 inches, and the maximum height in the waterfront commercial district is actually 55 feet, so it would be lower than the allowable height. However, it does exceed the height limit in the 3F 2000 district because that maximum is 3 stories, 35 feet. There is no story limit in the waterfront commercial, but again, these buildings are located directly across from one another to be consistent in size.
And what's the FAR?
So both of the FARs are at about 3.2. The waterfront commercial actually is a 1.0 max, similar to the 3F 2000, but very consistent with the densities and FARs for the surrounding buildings, all of which are on relatively smaller lots and that fill out each of the lots for the space they occupy.
How about the parking?
So we're proposing no parking for either site. We did have a conversation with the neighborhood. The Maverick Central Neighborhood Association actually reviewed this project twice. There was an extensive discussion about parking and whether or not it made sense to allow for one parking space under the building. The neighborhood actually felt that that was not an appropriate use of the site based upon its proximity to Maverick T Station, and therefore encouraged not putting the parking on the site and to use it completely for residential.
Because I'm curious to know what Coppersmith Village, how many variances, what their parking variance was, or request that we had approved, because cumulatively there will be an effect on the community with all these variances in the area.
Yeah. So I'm vaguely familiar with the Coppersmith project. I didn't work on that. I think that was subject to Article 80, and I don't believe they are at a 1-to-1 parking ratio. I think it's more of a maybe a 75% thereabouts, based upon just my experience with those types of projects in the neighborhood.
How are the plans, Mr.
The
Pizzani?
drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board?
Is there a groundwater situation here?
No flood. Interestingly, located very close to the waterfront, but the elevation has removed this, or keeps this out of the flood zone.
And tell us about the roof deck.
Roof deck, because of the height of the building, would be accessed by head house. We would note that the buildings that are immediately surrounding this that have also either been approved or under construction also have head houses as well.
And is this only accessible to the top floor?
That's correct.
Okay.
Is the head house toward the rear? What's the visibility from the street?
To the extent that there could be a rear, yes. The building's not very deep, so we've located it as far back as possible.
Is there a reason that the head houses are not shown on the elevation?
Yeah.
I thought we had the head houses shown.
Not here.
I apologize, Mr. Pizzani. I think the term is ghosted, and I think that the printing that I actually
I would say missing is
yeah, it's vaguely, you can see it on this one, but it might be a function of the printer that I used to print these up.
I don't know, even with my magnifier, I can't see it.
They are shown, and we did disclose that to the neighborhood as well, and indicated that we would be providing.
So in terms of my question, in terms of the visibility from the street.
Yeah, so I believe that it's the building that will be built immediately in front of 1 Coppersmith is 5 stories, so you wouldn't even see it from Border Street. If you're on Coppersmith, Coppersmith's very narrow. You wouldn't be able to see it either because of the height of the building.
Yeah, but the issue is that the head house is actually in plane with the side wall, so of course it'll be.
Yeah. And we can look to adjust it if necessary.
Okay, is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support for this project. We present the project with an abutters meeting back in October, and also the project on the proposal received the support from the Maverick Central Square Association with no concerns about the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion,
I'd like to
please?
make a motion to grant the zoning relief requested with BPDA design review and particular attention to minimizing the visual aspect of the head house.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 875-174, 35 Layden Street. This is to raise an existing building, erecting a 9-unit residential dwelling with 11 parking spaces. The violation is Article 53, Section 56. Insufficient parking, 1.75 unit is required. Article 53, Section 56. The location of the front yard parking is not allowed. Article 53, Section 8, MFR use is forbidden. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR, 0.8 is the max. Article 53, Section 9, building height is excessive, 35 feet is the max. Article 53, Section 9, the number of allowed stories has been exceeded, 2.5 feet is the max. And Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering is required. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. On behalf of the petitioner, with me as Brad Kinjamilla, the owner of this property at Layden Street. With respect to this proposal, there's an existing 6-unit multifamily dwelling on the site presently. Historically, this property has been somewhat problematic for the neighborhood. We had done a proposed project immediately next door on the right-hand side for a similar number of units. At that time, the neighborhood had requested that we, if possible, start looking at the project at this site. Mr. Canjamila put this property under agreement with the intention of redeveloping it. We did very early outreach with the community to come up with a design we felt was appropriate. The first issue that we heard was to ensure that no parking would be accessed from Layden Street. All of the parking for this project would be accessed from the rear of the property along Bourbon Street, which provides for a little bit more traffic flexibility, if you will, as opposed to congestion that's typically noticed up on Layden Street. The proposal would add a total of 9 units, the lot size about 8,200 square feet. However, in looking at the building from the Layden Street side, it's consistent in both height and size with a lot of the other buildings along that side of Layden Street. Because the property does slope down towards the rear, the levels, the number of units or number of stories on the Bourbon Street side would actually be a total of 4. This property is also located in the flood zone and therefore designed to be compliant with flood requirements based upon the elevations for the rear of the property. The mix of units is 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. One of the things, again, that we heard from the neighborhood, especially in Orient Heights, is that the unit sizes should be accommodating more for families. And so it's one of the reasons why we've included a number of 3-bedroom units in this project. The size of the units range from about 960 square feet for the 2-bedroom up to around 1,300 square feet for the 3-bedroom. We are providing a total of 11 parking spaces, even though we're proposing a total of 9 units. So this would involve at least 1 parking space for each unit. We would have the option to have 2 flexible spaces for visitor parking or additional parking for the units. And again, that was in response to issues that were raised throughout the community process. We did have a chance to present this to the Orient Heights Neighborhood Council on several occasions, as well as the direct abutters. The Orient Heights Neighborhood Council voted to support this proposal based upon the plans that we've presented here to the board. Happy to answer any questions.
And again, this has roof decks?
So the roof decks, and again, this is part of the process with the neighborhood. The roof decks are pushed more towards the Bourbon Street side and barely visible from the Layden Street side. They would be visible from Bourbon Street, but the concern that we heard was from the direct abutters across the street on Layden Street as to the impact those roof decks might have on the Layden Street properties. Pushing them back towards Bourbon Street would minimize that impact, and the remaining abutters had no issue with that.
Is this an elevator building or not?
I don't believe so. I think we're able to gain access from Layden Street for the accessible units.
Yes. Okay.
So is this the trend that 4-story buildings are now non-elevator? There's a market for that.
Without elevator, or possibly. I think depending on how you can access the building. Yeah, I think it could be. I think where we're having buildings where there's no livable space on that lower level.
The reason I raise it, in fact, isn't the parking when you come off of Boardman Street. It's the parking, well, it's still a 4-story building.
From the rear, correct, yep.
Does A2 show just a set of stairs?
Well, the head house is basically in the middle of the building, rather than on the other side.
Yeah, I think what we're showing is a step down from the Layden Street side down to the Boardman Street side. Even though there'll still be 4 stories, the head house and the roof deck can be hidden behind the Layden Street elevation.
How is somebody who's handicapped who wants to access their parking going to do that?
So I think we need to look at that, and I think we have sufficient room for a lift if we need to get somebody up to the first level. I don't think it necessarily requires a full elevator for the building, but...
Right, but you have a roof deck that's a communal roof deck, though.
No, I think it should be exclusive only to the upper units.
That's a building code.
Yeah, it's intended to be exclusive to the upper units only.
Any other questions? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office on Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. The proposal received the support from the abutters and also from the Civic Association based on the parking spaces and also to the currently conditions of the building. So they're happy they're doing something with this building, basically. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Are you speaking in opposition? No? Okay. Ms. Pizzani, how do we accommodate for the handicap units?
That'll get written up as a building code issue or accommodation when they go for the building permit right now.
We intend to comply.
Addressing zoning, they haven't flagged it yet, but at some point it will be.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval, BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next three cases. Calling BOA 904-0529 Webster Avenue. Companion cases BOA 904-046 11 Webster Avenue and BOA 904-048 11 to 15 Webster Avenue. This is for 9 Webster Avenue. This is the newly created lot consisting of 801 square feet. They erect a new 3-story, 2-family attached building to 11 and 15 Webster. This violation is Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking, insufficient parking, 1 per unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient lot size, 2,000 square feet is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient additional lot area, 1,000 square feet a unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR, 1.0 is the max. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space, 300 square feet unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback, 2.5 feet is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback, 20 feet minimum is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient parking, 1 per unit is required. This is for 11 Webster Avenue. This is confirmed as an existing 1-family dwelling and combined lots at 11 Webster of 787 square feet with Lot B at 15 Webster of 787 square feet to equal a 2-family dwelling with a new address to be known as 11 to 15 Webster Avenue. Then allocate 100 square feet to number 9 Webster Avenue. The remaining lot size then shall equal 1,474 square feet, and 9 Webster Avenue on vacant land shall have 801 square feet. Violations Article 53, Section 9. Dimensional regulations, reduction of open space at 200 square feet unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, the reduction of required lot size, 2,000 square feet is required. Article 53, Section 9, the reduction of an insufficient lot area per unit. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR due to the reduction in the lot size. This is for 11 to 15 Webster. Lots combined, newly proposed work, renovation, confirmed 2-family structure, and raise the gable roof to include changing occupancy from a 2-family to a 4-family. The violations, Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking loading requirements, insufficient parking. Article 53, Section 8, the MFR is forbidden. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient lot area per unit. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space per unit. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback. And Article 53, Section 52, alteration and reconfiguration of a roof profile. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mark Lacasse, Lacasse Law LLC, 75 Arlington Street, Boston, Mass. Attorney for the applicant, owner of the property, Dwayne Smith, who is seated to my right. This project involves the restoration of 2 existing single-family home brick buildings, which you'll see on slide 6 in the photographs of the handout, and construction of a new, very similar structure on the vacant parcel at number 9 Webster Ave. The first application before you was to combine lots number 11 and 15, which is where the existing buildings stand, and to allocate 100 square feet of the combined lot to the vacant parcel so that the new structure could be right up against the existing structure. So that was just a lot line adjustment that was recommended by ISD. The existing buildings are 2.5 stories, gable roof. The roof will be elevated to create a full 3rd story on the existing 2 structures. The new structure will be similar at 3 stories. Each of the buildings will have 2 duplex units, basement and ground floor, and the upper 2 floors. The top duplex units will have access, exclusive access on each of the roof areas on each of the 3 buildings. And in response to community concerns, the roofs will be green, and that we had access by hatch instead of head house, which was permissible given the height of these buildings. We had a very extensive community process resulting in a favorable vote from the JP&A Association of 27-5, and we have letters of support from abutters, worked closely with our abutters, especially in the rear yard. Webster Ave is a very small, narrow, non-vehicular street, so tight conditions. There was discussion with the neighbors about repairing a retaining wall in the rear, taking down a tree in the back area.
Tell us about, is there any parking proposed for these?
No, so there's no parking on Webster Ave because it's a non-vehicular street. Webster Ave is between Webster Street and Sumner Ave and is only open for any type of access at one end and is actually closed on the other end, and none of the houses on Webster Ave have parking, so it's physically impossible to create any parking on Webster Ave.
What are the unit sizes?
The units are all approximately about 1,100 square feet.
Okay. And tell us about this roof garden.
So, again, in response to the community process, there was a desire to do something a little different with the roof. So the roof will be a green roof of durable materials that require very little maintenance and will be self-irrigating to keep the temperature of the building down and to just provide a bit of green space instead of a black rubber roof at that location.
So this is, Mr. Pisani, could this eventually be replaced with a very extensive roof deck? Because it looks like it's essentially takes up the bulk of that roof.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to the question is yes, but I think the initial design intent is to maintain green, and I'm sure that they will do everything possible. And it's an expensive solution, but congratulations for trying it.
And each of the duplex units on the top floor will have exclusive access to those roof decks, and these units are intended to be condominiums and sold as homeownership opportunities.
When you talk about a roof garden, I mean, are the benches up there for people to sit, or is it strictly vegetation?
You'll see on the last slide, it's strictly a vegetation. We provided a lot more material during the community process about the types of materials that are used for this type of roof surface. The McAllen building in South Boston is one example that has a terraced roof with green space on each of the levels.
But my question is, it won't be something that people will be hanging out in.
You can go up there, but it's not designed to be like a deck, an ordinary roof deck, correct?
But it's great for sunbathing.
Sure. And the views from this roof are spectacular.
So, how are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office on Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. The proposal, it was presented in front of the abutters and several meetings with the Jeffries Point Neighborhood Association. I think they addressed several of the concerns during this community process, and we would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The council would also like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, if I could just submit some letters of support, the letter from JP&A and 2 abutters for the record. Thank
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 8889-867, 17 Parker Street. This is a change of Parks from a two-family dwelling to a three-family dwelling, extended living space and additional unit at garden level, and add 2 new windows at the garden level front. New bathroom, new kitchenette, rebuild interior stair from the main hallway. The violations, Article 62, Section 29, off-street parking requirements. Article 62, Section 62-7-2, basement unit is forbidden. Article 62, Section 8, the usable open space is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Anne Marie Callahan. I am the owner and current resident of 17 Parker Street, Charlestown. We're here before you today to seek zoning relief, basically for a three-family designation. We are in a three-family neighborhood, and it's very much in keeping with our neighborhood. I presently live at the home with my husband and 4 children, and it is a family home and intend to be owner-occupied for a long time to come. So right now we're looking to finish the basement and make it into a garden-level apartment to accommodate our family.
Can you please speak to the, can you give us the sizes of each unit?
Right now, the first floor is approximately 1,300 square feet, and we have a second and third floor unit. It's presently a two-family. The second and third floor unit is approximately 1,700 square feet.
And the basement is proposed to be?
Approximately 600 square feet.
And what's the floor-to-ceiling height in the basement?
I believe it's 9 feet, the ceiling height in the basement.
8'1".
8 feet, excuse me.
And are utilities separated from the unit?
I'm sorry?
Will utilities be separated from the unit?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us about the parking.
We currently have 3 off-street parking spots in our driveway and 2 drivers in our home, so we don't even use all of the spots.
Well, that may be true, but
going forward,
situations
we have 3 spots off-street.
You have 3 parking spots.
Correct.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Yes, please, Mr. Kelly.
So you currently occupy the part of the house,
We occupy the whole house.
and you are looking to make this into a three-family?
Correct.
Are you looking to lose a couple of your children?
No, we're thinking that maybe we could get away from a couple of our children so that they could have their own units, and we could most likely have ours.
Subdivide the house into 3 apartments.
Yes, into a 3-family. It's currently a 2-family that we are living in ourselves. We have 2 kitchens. We have.
Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Quinlan Locke with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office would like to go on record in support of this proposal. An abutters meeting was held on December 19th. It was lightly attended, and this project has received support from many abutters in the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Good morning, members of the board and chairman. Karen Foley, Councilor Sabi George's office, would like to go on record in support of this project. Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval. There's really no exterior work, is there?
No.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you. And for the record, I have 2 letters of support. I'll keep with it. Thank you.
Calling next case, calling BOA 905-516, 34 to 42 Warren Street. This is a change of occupancy and renovating existing second-floor garage to create new office space in conjunction with an adjacent connected office building. Violation of Article 62, Section 29, off-street parking is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sean O'Donovan on behalf of the applicant, DLJ Realty Capital Partners. My office is located at 10 Tremont Street. DLJ's office is at 18. I'm also joined here by our architect, Mr. Joe Bergman from BH Plus, and our traffic consultant, Elizabeth Peart from HSS.
Tell us what's being proposed.
Madam Chairwoman, this is a request for change of occupancy from a parking level to office space.
Okay.
So tell us give us the overview. It looks like you have drawings there. Tell us what the whole site looks like.
This is a rendering of the site that, as has been approved by the BPDA, the second floor of the building is currently a parking level. A portion of the first floor is parking and retail, and the entry to the office building that's on levels 3 and 4. The modification that's being requested is to simply take the garage, same panel system, same mullion system, and replace this garage screen with glass and convert the garage level on the second floor into office space as opposed to parking.
So tell us, I mean, your only violation is parking, and I think it's interesting that you've triggered a violation to remove parking here. So will the parking need, what's required zoning-wise for parking, and how many parking spaces are being provided for this site?
Required zoning-wise is 2.0 per thousand, and what we would end up with is 1.0.
Could I ask a question? Hasn't this project been before us before?
It has, Mr. Pisani.
And there have been adjacent projects that have been before us that I thought were making arrangements for their parking to be in this building. Does that resonate?
So the last time this project was before you under different ownership. DLJ bought the project after that was approved, and at this particular time, Consigli is building out what Mr. Bergman was showing you. So now we're here as a new ownership that took over that approval and is carrying that out, asking for the conversion of the second floor to parking now.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think what my concern is that other projects in that neighborhood were successful because their presentations were that parking was, well, not provided. On their project, they had an arrangement for parking within this building.
There was an agreement with the 10 City Square ownership, which is now owned by the Appalachian Mountain Club, acquired it last year. They had the entirety of the second floor, but they didn't have a need for it. So we've downsized them and actually moved them out of the building. So they're no longer an occupant of that.
But, so what address, is it at this address, or what address is that? Was
That's
10 City?
10 City Square.
Oh, I'm sorry, 10 City Square, okay.
So how many parking spaces are there on the ground floor which will remain, and how many parking spaces?
At a minimum, there'll be 30 that will remain, and we have the potential to add stackers, which would get us to 40 spaces.
And how many spaces will be lost on the second floor?
There'd be about 35 spaces lost on the second floor.
And is there a ramp now to get to the second floor?
Yeah, I think that's a good point there.
There's a ramp on this back corner on Hanley Street that takes you to the second floor. In the new scheme, that ramp would be eliminated. The curb cut on Hanley Street would be eliminated, and that actually converts to bicycle parking.
So
we'd add a public parking space where that curb cut goes away.
And, what's
So
the
the net loss in the neighborhood is 35 spaces then, right?
Yes, but of course, if I may, Mr. Through you, Madam Chairwoman, it's obviously a private parking lot that was leased to certain people at one time. It was, so, and if I may,
But it also
So we did-
meets the needs of the offices on the third, fourth, and the ground floor, right? Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
it does, yes,
it's
it
the
does,
parking
but
calculation.
even, it does, absolutely, Madam Chairwoman, it's just that it's underutilized.
Can you tell us a little bit about the parking and the utilization, please?
Yes, and if I may just speak to the parking ratio, the spaces per 1,000 square feet that's currently being provided with the current project. It's at 2.53 currently, and zoning, of course, is 2.0, and what we're looking for is something closer to 1. And I would just comment that if this were a new project subject to BTD parking guidelines, 1.0 would actually be above what they would recommend for an office space. So we feel that this is...
So there's a conflict between what the zoning requires and what BTD requires. Is that what it is?
That's correct.
Okay.
If this project were part of a large project review through the BPDA, which it is not, but if it were, a new project, and subject to those requirements, we would be providing somewhere between 0.7 and 1.0 spaces per 1,000 square feet. And that's reflective of the trends with lower auto ownership, more reliance on public transportation, bicycle commuting. So we're coming before you saying that we feel that this project and the users of it are more...
On a technical front, though,
Yes.
have you done an analysis to see on the usage?
Yes. And I have those numbers before me here. We observed that the maximum daytime occupancy in the garage was 81% or 65% of, or excuse me, 65 spaces. And that includes 42 during the day and 23 residents that were allowed to park there 24/7. So those were private permits. So the daytime use from office workers was approximately 42.
Okay, and so basically now you're reducing the spaces to 30, so what happens to the 12 that are short, that you'll be short? Is there anything in your drawings that shows stackers in there? Or are you... I mean, because everybody says they'll put stackers in and then, you know, it may not happen.
It's part of the so it's part of the program that we've stated to the board that we would agree to. We would certainly condition the approval if that's if you saw fit, Madam Chairwoman. I don't think.
Well, what's the floor to ceiling height?
That had those concerns. So we reached out to those folks to tell them we could accommodate them with parking overnight. It was really overnight and weekends that seems to be a little bit of a concern of those 4 folks. In addition to that, there are 2 parking lots in the area. One is a parking lot and one is a garage that have open spaces, and they're looking for monthly folks to join them. So
we basically have to look at each project individually, because who knows what will happen with those parcels in the near future.
I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Quinlan Locke with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services would like to go on record in support of this proposal. An abutters meeting was held December 13th, was largely attended by residents. As suggested, one of the concerns was parking for those residents, which they had reached out to those residents in regards to. We also got a lot of letters of support in regards to the building itself. Right now, a lot of abutters think it's kind of an eyesore, and they're looking forward to it being rehab. Thanks.
Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ricardo Patron from the Office of City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The councilor would also like to go on record in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Michael Perez, representing the Carpenters Union. Would like to go on record in support.
Good
Good morning, members of the board. I'm a nearby resident and would like to go on record in support of the project. I do not see parking as a concern given its primary commercial use and daytime parking. Nighttime parking is the issue within the neighborhood. And currently the garage is underutilized. I've lived in the neighborhood for over a decade and it's an eyesore and never full from my perspective. So I would like to support it.
And what's your address?
38 Mount Vernon Street.
Thank you. Is anybody here, are you speaking in support? Are you in support or opposition?
I'm in favor.
Oh, please, put your name and address on the record.
I can't hear you.
Put your name and address on the
Sure,
record.
yes. I'm Kenneth G. Flynn from 30 Park Street, City Square, Charlestown. I've been director abutter of this property for 34 years. Starting in 2011, I was here 6 times over 6 years to oppose the previous owner's development plans. On April 11, 2017, I appeared here to approve his set of plans at that time. All right, you at that point granted variances for that set of plans, which I supported, in which I allowed my LDA to be amended to support. He then flipped the property to these gentlemen, I should say sold it, he didn't flip it, he sold it for a good some amount of money. I had a meeting since this past March, when I found out these people bought it. I spent $50,000 personally on legal fees with my attorneys, going through every document of what took place. I had an hour-and-a-half meeting with the director of the BRA, his general counsel, and the head architect, David Carlson, who signed off on these plans. We've gone through everything. So I am in favor of this set of plans, and it's time that we settle the whole thing. It's gone on since 2011.
Thank you.
I don't know what else we could do with it. It's an old derelict garage building. So I'd ask you once again, as you did on April 11, 2017, to support the variances. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Please put your name and address on the record.
Hello, I'm Noah Klentak. I live at 21 Main Street, directly behind the building. I think parking is very difficult already in the area. I have been on the list for 3 years to try to get parking in this building and haven't heard anything about a vacancy. I think it's very difficult. Street parking already is very difficult, and I think removing 35 spaces will only make it more difficult.
So it sounds like your team needs to have a conversation with this abutter if you still have vacancies at night and weekends. So thank you.
Madam Chairwoman?
Any last comments?
Just that we have chatted with Noah this morning, the gentleman who just spoke, and we absolutely can accommodate on nights and weekends. We conveyed that, and we will do it again.
Motion, please.
Motion for approval, continue BPDA design review, particular attention paid to the issue of parking and possible use of stackers.
Of 10 stackers? Or maximum number of stackers?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
It's now 10:30. I'm going to call any withdrawals or deferrals for 10:30. I will call them again, but if there are deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30. Counselor, address?
11 Ruggles Street.
11 Ruggles?
Not necessarily a withdrawal, but I was told by the...
I have you down. Yeah, so I'm going to call it in for the record, BOA 909-744, level 11 Ruggles Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Mark Lacasse Law, 75 Arlington Street, Boston, Mass. Apparently there was a mix-up with the notice and advertising of this by the board staff, and they've rescheduled it for February 26th.
Correct. So it has been deferred. I'll make a motion for deferral.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So
Is it already scheduled for the 26th?
Yes.
It's already been scheduled.
At what time?
For 9:30.
For 9:30. Excellent.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30? This is only deferrals or withdrawals. Address, sir?
83 Bowden Street.
You're deferring it?
No.
Are you deferring your project, sir?
No.
All right, we're not going to call it out.
Okay.
These are for deferrals or withdrawals only. Okay, I'm going to call the next case. Calling VOA.
Hold on, Mark.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
10:30 deferral.
Okay, what's the address, sir?
Catherine Street, 7-15 Catherine Street.
For the record, calling BOA 890958, 7-15 Catherine Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is John Lyden. I'm the attorney representing the proponent. My address is 5 Caspian Way, Dorchester, Massachusetts. And with the board's permission, we'd like to request a deferral of this project for March 19th, if possible.
I'm just going to say what I had mentioned before, is that we are really taking a hard look at these deferrals because they are just spinning out of control here. So please when you make a request for a date, make sure that it's reasonable, because we're not, considering any more deferrals after deferrals. So may I have a motion, please, on the deferral? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date?
We can no longer do March, but we're April 9th.
That's fine.
Okay, April 9th.
April 9th at 11:30.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30? Okay. Go back into the next case. Calling BOA 905-355, 234 West Newton Street. This is to correct the violation to build a deck without a permit for Unit 2 on top of an existing garage at the rear of the building. This is an exterior connection of a main entrance to a detached garage for roof access, and it also needs historic approval required. The violation is Article 16, Section 8, restricted roof structure district, conditional of Section 41-6, and Article 41, Section 18, insufficient rear yard setback, 30 feet is the minimum setback required. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. My name is Chris Ford. I'm at 484 Columbus Avenue in Boston, 02118.
So tell us what's being proposed.
I'm representing my clients in this project as the contractor. We'd like to rebuild the deck that was on this garage structure that was detached from the building. It was there when they purchased the property over 12 years ago. Apparently it was built in violation. It is their second means of egress. And it's the reason basically that they purchased the property about 12 years ago. So I guess it came into consideration when the roof had to be replaced on the garage, and therefore the dominoes fell, and we had to right this wrong. So we have engineered a solution, and I believe you have all of that information.
What's the dimension of this deck?
The deck is about 12 feet by 15.
Okay. Was this addressed before this board before?
I don't believe so. I certainly have not, and I don't think so. I do not think so.
Did you say this was a detached or
It's a detached one-story garage.
Then how is it a method of egress if it's detached?
There's a 5-foot decking bridge that goes from the building to the deck that is on the roof.
But again, I mean, how does that work for egress? All you're doing is coming out of your building to the top of the deck. It doesn't show going down to the stairs, down to the ground. That is already within the building, so I don't understand.
We're replacing it as it was.
So I understand what you're doing as it was, but I don't understand the argument that it is a second means of egress.
Well, I think we just have to look at it as a deck, plain old deck. If there are building code violations within the building, that needs to be sorted. How are the plans for the deck?
Drawings ready.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Giselle Gar with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. We did have an abutters meeting on site where we had some of the direct abutters come out and say that they had no questions or concerns. However, we have received maybe 2 phone calls from residents that live one directly below, and her concern is that she just wants access to the roof in case there needs to be any repairs, which Chris has been in contact with the young woman and has stated that it's already written into their condo doc, so that concern should be taken care of. And then there was just one other abutter that mentioned that she is concerned for the safety or not of the deck. Other than that, no one else had any concerns or questions.
Thank Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, I'm opposed.
Motion carries. Oh, well, actually, it is
Full board.
denied.
No, we're a six-member board, right?
Yeah.
So you need five.
Five
Yeah.
to six. Okay, so you're all set. You're all set.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 908-997-569 Boylston Street. This project consists of a tenant fit-out of an existing 5,280 square foot Boloco restaurant with takeout and outdoor patio seating with 32 seats for seasonal use and converting it into the new Chick-fil-A restaurant and takeout and outdoor patio seating with 14 seats for seasonal use. The proposed work also includes the construction of a ground floor addition onto the front of the building and additional usable space added to the third floor. The work will also expand the restaurant and takeout uses to include the entire second floor of the building currently used for office. The existing outdoor patio seating is being reduced from 32 to 16 seats to accommodate the new ground floor addition. The violations, Article 6, Section 4, takeout issued to the petitioner only with Boloco. Article 9, Section 1, extension of a non-conforming use. And Article 32, Section 32-4, this is in the Groundwater Conservation Overlay District. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Michael Scott. I'm a partner at Nutter, McLennan and Fish, located at 155 Seaport Boulevard in Boston. I'm here today representing Chick-fil-A. With me is Steve Martorano from Bowler Engineering, our engineer for the project. We have Scott Goodson from Chick-fil-A behind me, and Pierce Haley with Sarin and Haley. We're seeking to open up a new restaurant at 569 Boylston Street. Project's located within a B6 90A zoning subdistrict, GCOD, as well as a back pay architectural district. This building is 3 stories. It was occupied by Boloco as a restaurant with takeout and fast food, and as well as the outdoor patio for 32 seats located on private property. As was mentioned, we're seeking to expand this existing use from the ground floor and basement that Boloco had used to the basement, second floor, and the first floor for the restaurant, as well as storage on the third floor.
So what's going to be the projected footprint?
Steve, do you have the total floor area for the restaurant?
Go ahead while he's looking for that.
Sorry?
Go ahead while he's looking for that.
Okay, sure. The relief we're seeking is a conditional use permit for the uses and/or removal of the proviso that had been previously provided to Boloco, limiting the use to the Boloco, approval of the extension of the non-conforming use for the changes to the structure, and a conditional use permit for the GCOD. We believe we meet to the standards for the approvals in Section 6-3 of the code. We believe the property is appropriate for this use. The property in the surrounding area has been used by several similar restaurants. For example, Wendy's at 551 Boylston Street, Chipotle at 553 Boylston Street.
Counselor? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Chris?
Excuse me?
Christian, go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Christian Simonelli, Boston Groundwater Trust. I have been in touch with the applicant, and at this time we're requesting a hold for signature. The plans were submitted to Boston Water and Sewer at the beginning of January, and they're still under review, but I have received confirmation from Water and Sewer that the plans have been submitted. Thank you.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Advice are adequate.
And just a clarification, because this, the note seems to suggest, what is the bottom line? The outdoor seating is going from 32 to 14 or to 16?
To 16, Madam Chair.
To 16.
Yeah, that's what I asked the question.
To 14 or 16?
The ISD letter referenced 14 seats, and that's what the architectural drawings are showing now. So it's 14 seats.
And so it's 14. Mr. Pisani, it's in the notice that there's some discrepancy, just so for the record. So any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Elliot Laffer, Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay. They came to our Licensing and Building Use Committee meeting, and the one concern that we had beyond when they laid out the proposal was that they were planning to keep their storage and dumpsters outside, and as you know, in the alleys in the Back Bay, we have rodent issues. We asked them to adopt indoor storage of trash. They agreed to do that, and so we are not opposed.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? And the building will be fully handicapped accessible?
Steve? Yes, there's an elevator in the building.
Okay, so what is the total square footage anticipated for this use?
It's 5,800 for the restaurant, being the basement, first floor, second floor, and there's another 1,000 square feet of storage space up on the third floor. It's storage / office.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval with proviso that decision be held until we have a stamped and signed off water and sewer drawing.
Second.
And is there a takeout proviso?
Have they asked for it?
Oh, well, that is one of the violations, is the use is conditional, and the old takeout was to Boloco.
Loco, correct.
So may I have a motion for that?
Motion for takeout, usual takeout language.
Second. The second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with those provisos.
Thank you,
Good
Madam
luck.
Chair. Calling the next case, calling BOA 909131, 25 to 27 Dorchester Street. This is a change of occupancy from a two-family dwelling and tavern to a two-family dwelling, constructing new roof deck, 500 square feet for Unit 2. The violation is Article 68, Section 29. Roof structure restrictions. Access is required by a roof hatch or bulkhead no more than 30 inches in height above the such deck. The violation, Article 68, Section 8, rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Patrick Alvidi. I'm the owner of 25 Dorchester Street. The unit that wants to build a deck, and it's a private deck, not a common deck, I would like to state.
So can you speak up a bit? I'm having a hard time hearing.
I'm Patrick Alvidi. I'm the owner of the unit.
Yeah.
That is the proposed deck. And
So tell us, so you're changing the occupancy. Tell us what the ultimate size of the units will be, each unit?
so it's just a roof deck. I'm not asking to change the unit. It's just when I went to go file for the original permit, it said that there was a tavern in the building. I think there was a tavern there like 30 years ago, and there's no longer a tavern. So they told me I had to just get rid of the tavern.
You have to basically eliminate the tavern use from the paperwork.
Yeah.
So what are the sizes of the units?
So all of the units in the building are 815 square feet. And my unit is also, like the top unit is the one with the deck. It's not a common deck for the building. It's a private deck.
And what are the dimensions of that deck?
It's 500 square feet.
Okay.
And the drawings are in there in the second packet as well.
And what's the access to that deck?
So I'm proposing to have a continuation of an existing back staircase. That should be in there with the drawings. So right now there's a fire exit staircase that all three units have access to. And so I'm just asking to continue that staircase up to the roof for my unit.
Okay. Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate. It's an exterior rear access stair. Going up.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
I would like to ask...
Hold on. Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal? Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in opposition. We have held a couple of meetings on the subject of the roof deck. There are significant concerns about the roof deck. The building does, well, all of the units have outdoor space in the form of back decks already. I guess there have been many issues with parties and grills and things like that, including many 911 calls. So we cannot support the roof deck at this time. In addition, people did feel it was a very large roof deck, which it is large for this area.
So have the calls been because of the when this person has owned the property? Or was it a previous owner?
Yes, yes. So it has been under this owner. However, it is a 3-unit building, so
It's a two-family building, right?
it's being used currently, and I think for some time as a 3, right?
Yeah, so it's a 3-family, but because of the tavern, it was
No,
the...
no, it's got, there's a structural problem here, because then because it's been being advertised as changing occupancy from a two-family dwelling and tavern to a two-family. So this does not tell us exactly what's being proposed here. So we just have a structural issue. I just need a motion for deferral until all this is sorted out.
Make a motion for deferral.
Is there a second?
Why are we deferring?
Because we need to clearly know what his intention is.
But all he's looking for is the roof deck. Can we
No,
deal with that?
but he's also looking to change the occupancy from a two-family and tavern to a two-family. And it's the understanding from what's being presented is that it's currently occupied as a 3-family. And we just need to make sure that the record is all cleared up.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
If we could just ask him, I know there's been a motion, but can we ask him to clarify what he wants to say right here?
Did you want to say something?
I would just like to say, when I had gone to file for the original permit, this was what I was told that had to be changed. So really what I'm proposing is to build the roof deck. The occupancy is nothing is really
Well,
going
it
to change
does.
with the
It
occupancy.
does, because it asks for a change of occupancy right here in the purpose of the appeal.
But can we deny that?
So would it be possible to deny the occupancy change but go forward with the roof deck proposition?
No, I'd just rather have the whole building just cleaned up with all the other associated issues related to it, if that's possible. Because if we just look at the roof deck, it's turning the other eye at the fact, or looking the other way for the fact there is a 3rd unit in that building.
But if we put a proviso that says that all we're approving is a roof deck. I mean, the issue is that there is no support for the project to begin with. And deferring it isn't going to change that, I don't think.
True. Okay. So who made the motion?
I think I did. I'll take back the deferral.
Okay, so go ahead, John.
So I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Anybody
thank you.
else?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councilor Flynn's office. The councilor would like to go on record in opposition. In the previous abutters meeting, there were many concerns coming from the direct abutters and the people who live in the area. Also, the St. Vincent's Neighborhood Association is very opposed to this proposal as well, because of the same reasons that John stated earlier. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Council do on record in strong opposition to this project. Aside from the numerous phone calls and letters that we received from abutters and neighbors in opposition to this project, this property has no less than 12 violations cited by 12 phone calls from the Boston Police between May and December of last year. This is what we would call a problem property, and for those reasons, the councilor is in opposition.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Karen Foley, Councilor Asabi George's office, would like to go on record in opposition of this project. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty Webb. I'm one of the abutters. I'm at 445 West 2nd Street. The property in question has already 2 back porches that face my property, and we've had numerous complaints on loud parties and things like that. The square footage of the property is, the living space in the property is about 800 square feet. They already have 2 back decks that are about 234 square feet. So if a 500 square foot roof deck is being proposed, it's almost the exact same square footage of your living property. So we just don't understand the concept of that. My 6-year-old bedroom faces onto this property, and there's nothing but parties every single day, or at least weekend. So definitely in opposition. Thanks.
Is anybody else to speak in opposition? Please come.
My name is Bill Millerick. I live at 23 Dorchester Street, right next to the new big deck. I learned a long time ago with buying a home, there comes responsibilities to the community. 25 Dorchester Street doesn't realize that. The parties, the 911 calls, the code enforcement, ticketing. It's a deck that size, that big, is going to give them access to the whole roof. I don't think at this time it's a good idea.
Thank you. So may I have a motion, please?
Motion for denial.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming. Pardon? Straight denial.
Straight denial.
Okay.
Calling next case, calling BOA 904-044, 47 Thomas Park. This is a change of occupancy from a two-family to a three-family and excavate the lowest basement level and add living space and a rear deck at ground level and roof deck with spiral stair from the rear deck to the top level. It's a violation of Article 68, Section 29, the roof structure restricted district. Article 68, Section 33, off-street parking requirement is insufficient. Article 27S, Section 5, it's in the South Boston iPod. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mark Lacasse, Lacasse Law, 75 Arlington Street, Boston, Mass. With me is Ryan Noon from Embark Studio. To my right, the architect, and to my far right is David O'Connor, the owner of the property. This is a proposal to convert an existing two-family by adding one additional unit to make it a three-family, excavating the basement to create additional living space. Unit number 1 will occupy the newly finished basement space and the ground floor. Unit 2 is on the second floor, and Unit 3 occupies the third floor. If you look at the elevations, because of the slope of the land here on Thomas Park, the building reads as a two-story in the front, and in the rear yard is a fully exposed four-story building with a very large backyard based on the configuration of the lot. The sole zoning violations before you today are, number 1 is insufficient parking for the additionally created dwelling unit. There's simply no place to possibly put parking. None of the adjoining properties have parking, again, because of the slope of the land behind the homes. Second is a conditional use permit for the roof deck. At the abutter meeting, there was some concern expressed about the roof deck. So 2 things were done. It was reduced in size to 200 square feet, and it was pulled further back from the parapet at the front of the building to be more in the rear of the property, again, which is consistent with the other roof decks on this stretch of Thomas Park, to pick up the incredible views of the harbor right there. From the front of the building, you can't see the roof deck because the parapet is at least 4 feet high, if not higher. Those were the issues raised. And lastly is an iPod permit under Article 27S in the South Boston iPod District.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate. Just for the record, the drawings show 208.
208, I'm sorry, yes.
Is any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. We do understand there are concerns with parking, with adding the additional unit, but there was generally positive feedback about the project, with the exception of the roof deck. We would like to ask if the board does grant relief that there be a proviso restricting the roof deck to 200 square feet in size. Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Madam of the Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councillor Flink's office. The councillor would like to go on record in opposition to this proposal. We are aware that they work with the abutters on the size of the roof deck, but we heard back from the Dorchester Heights Neighborhood Association, and they have concerns on the parking and how they are not providing any parking on this new unit. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of Council at Large Michael Flaherty. Due to the Article 68 violations in this project, the council cannot support the project and would like to go in opposition.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
One question. Councilor, because this is now a three-family, it's fully sprinkled?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion for approval, BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we are going to take a break until 11 o'clock, 11:05. Meeting is adjourned.
Get something, anything you want to do?
zoning board of appeal for, I don't even know what date it is, for February 5th is back in session. Just a reminder, make sure your cell phones are off and any conversations happen outside of the room. In conformance with the open meeting law, this meeting is being live streamed. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that I called deferrals and withdrawals, but I'm going to call it one more time before we go to the 10:30. Are there deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the first case. Calling BOA 879-00980 Winthrop Street. This is the proposed 3 off-street parking spaces. The violations, Article 50, Section 43. Access, maneuvering areas are restricted. Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Nichols, here for 80 Winthrop Street, Roxbury, Massachusetts, 02119.
Tell us what's being proposed.
We're proposing 3 off-street parking. So the way the lot is designed, there's a right-of-way to the left of the building that provides access to 80 and 82 Winthrop Street exclusively.
Okay.
So we're looking to put a curb cut in place in order to be able to access that legally and provide parking to both 80 and 82.
And would this be tandem parking or would it be parking in the rear yard?
Parking in the rear yard.
Okay, and how is it going to be split between 80 and 82?
So currently the lot line is split already. There's a 10-foot right-of-way at the center of the lot that joins the two. So we could never put anything within that 10 feet of space. So they'll have access to cross.
So all 3 spaces would be at the rear of 80?
That's correct.
Okay. And how are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawing actually shows 4 spaces. You're only asking for 3, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Is there a utility pole that has to be moved?
That's correct. I've spoken to the city, and we paid to have that done, so that will be done as part of this as well.
Bob?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Bob D'Amico, BTD. You can work with 3 spaces. Of course, the light pole is going to have to be moved, and but the plans show 4 spaces. So I don't.
So which we should mark up the plan on which one should be eliminated?
One car should definitely be eliminated. No question about
Which one that would make sense?
Number 4 should be
Number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this an owner-occupied building?
Yes, so I converted the building to condo, so 3 unit owners live in the building now.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Faisal Sharif with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. This will help take additional vehicles off of the street, making it easier for most of the abutting neighbors to also park on the street. Additionally, there is a letter of support from the neighborhood association in that area.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Michaela Parkin. I'm here from City Councilor Kim Janey's office. We would like to go on the record in support of this proposal. The developer met with abutters and came to an agreement. We also suggest that he continues these discussions with the abutters just to make sure that everything's okay along this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Ma'am, your name and address?
I'm Angela Bino. I live at 18 Fairland Street. The proposed driveway will run along the back fence, and unfortunately, the width of the maximum width of the driveway is proposed driveway is 9.90 feet. And then the driveway narrows by our fence we're like at 18 Fairland Street. The width between the 80 Winthrop and 18 Fairland narrows to 9.19 feet. And we only have, we have a very small backyard. We have like 5 feet between our backyard, between our back porch and our fence. And also the building 80 Winthrop, at the side of 80 Winthrop, there are vents, and also there's a pipe protruding against the building. So the pipe, the width by 24 Fairland Street. So the width, so it's the maximum width of 9.9 actually narrows because of the pipe. And then because of the heating vents, there's steam coming out. So when the steam turns into water, and then when it's really cold outside, the water turns into ice. So usually you have a layer of ice throughout the winter, a layer of ice that runs along the path.
And that's into your backyard?
Yeah, that's next to our fence.
Okay.
That's next to our fence.
Okay.
So I'm concerned because the drivers will, first of all, they have to avoid the pipes, which means they will veer towards the fence of 24 Fairland Street, and then it narrows, so it's a nice path, then it narrows by our fence. And I'm concerned that it'll be our neighborhood will turn into like a Judge Judy environment, where I'll be concerned, where, you know, we'll have to be like washing, where you know, where we'll be fighting each other because too many cars, because you cannot, the drivers, you cannot tell the driving ability of the drivers. So I feel like 24 and 18, we'll be at the mercy, really, of the condo owners, their visitors. In addition, I also feel that there's another, the nature of Winthrop Street, all of the other buildings that, Winthrop Street, there's 88, there's access, all of the other buildings, they've got driveways, easements, and the nature of the neighborhood is that everyone parks in the back, and it's all paved. And for 30 years, the access, even to the back of 80 Winthrop Street, has always been through the 88 Winthrop Street. Using, you know, it's just been easement.
Has it been through 88 or 82?
Pardon?
Has the access been from 88 or 82?
82, 80, and 84 were divided on one plot. But 86 and 88, there were another plot of land. So really, the access is through 88. The access for 86, 88, 86, 84, 82, and 80 will all be through 88 because the building is one big open building.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Just for clarification, the survey clearly shows that your fence is actually on his land.
No, I'm sorry, we had a survey.
Well, okay, so we have a question of dueling surveys here, but...
No,
what's the width of the driveway on the drawing?
The width of the driveway proposed by the appellant is 9.9 feet.
Okay, are you also to speak in opposition?
Yeah, I'm also at 18 Fairland Street, right
You're
behind.
You're at 18? Okay.
Right, the entrance is from that whole block of houses is from 88.
Okay, thank you. So because I think the previous speaker gave us the lay of the land. Thank you so much.
You want to just put your name on for the record?
Sorry?
Go ahead, just put your name on for the record.
It's Carol Prescott at 18 Fairland Street.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Sounds like there's got to be some good conversation going on here. May I have a motion just on this? Motion for approval. Is there a second? All those in favor? And this is the elimination of space number 4. And please, if the mayor's office could help these neighbors reach some kind of good neighborly I don't know, conversations or whatever it is. Okay?
Calling the next case, calling BOA.
Oh, is there a motion? Was there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You already did that.
Motion carries.
Calling BOA 892-294, 7 Cherokee Street. This is parking for 3 residential vehicles. The violations Article 10, Section 1. No parking shall be within 5 feet of the side lot line. Article 59, Section 37. The proposed parking spaces do not meet the minimum dimensions. And Article 59, Section 37. Tandem spaces do not provide proper maneuverability. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney John Pulgini, 10 Forbes Road, Braintree. Good morning. The proposal here is to add a curb cut for a driveway for 2 cars. The driveway is 10 feet wide. The violations, as Mr. Fortune read out, are tandem parking is forbidden, dimensions, and the parking is within 5 feet of the lot line. We went to a long community process. We had an abutters meeting with full support, and also Alter is giving out a letter of support from the Community Alliance of Mission Hill. It's worth noting that the proposed curb cut that's before you is on a side of the street where there is forbidden parking, so there's no parking there. So there's no concern with the neighbors that they're losing spaces on the street, and really they're just taking cars off of the street.
So just tell us, is this vacant land or is this parking for the building?
It's parking for an existing 3-family home that is there now.
I don't know why it says vacant land here. Okay, so it's a 3-family building. And how are the cars proposed to, are they side by side?
No, that's one of the violations, Madam Chair.
Sorry, so it's tandem?
Yes.
And who owns this property?
The owner is Kurt Stenhouse, and his son is one of the residents who lives in that property.
Okay. And this is, so tell us about the units. I know this is just for parking, but this is Mission Hill. Tell us about the units and the number of bedrooms per unit.
I believe they're all, there's 3 units in the building. It's a 3-family. The zoning in the neighborhood is 3,000. And I'm not 100% certain, but I think that every unit is 2 to 3 bedrooms.
How are the plans, Mr.
The
Design?
drawings are adequate. The drawings clearly show parking for only 2 spaces, not for, I think 3 was that.
Yeah, so
is that correct?
they did scale back to the 2 spaces.
What is the depth? I don't see a dimension here, a depth of the driveway. I'm not even sure if 2 spaces cars can fit.
Well, if it was a full-size, which would be 8.5 by 20, and a compact, which would be 7 by 18, you need 38 feet. The length of the right side is 55 feet. And
yeah, but the driveway only goes up to the bow in the side of the house.
I think using the scale, it's approximately 40 feet, Mr. Ehrlich.
40 feet?
Yes.
Well, that's 40 feet from the curb cut?
Correct. 40 feet from the sidewalk. From the
sidewalk. So, I mean, it's almost front yard parking.
Again, it's...
But it looks like you do have room to take it back some.
Yeah,
we do.
Take it back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would suggest that you do it in such a way so that the...
Pull it off the street a little bit more.
The car doesn't extend past the front of the house.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Giselle Gurr with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. We held an abutters meeting where we had some abutters came out just to kind of figure out where the parking was. No one had any questions or concerns or opposition, and they also received unanimous support at the Civic Association when they went before them. So we're all set.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval for 2 spaces.
Can I add a proviso that the depth of the driveway be calculated as such to avoid front yard parking?
With the proviso that the depth of the driveway be calculated as such to prevent.
So does that mean, does that mean design review? Does that mean design review?
Yeah, with the BPDA design.
There a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Calling BOA 889-396-59 West Walnut Park.
Pretty good.
This is to legalize an existing basement living space for Unit 1. The violation is Article 55, Section 9. The floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
59 West Walnut Park, Roxbury. I be there resident.
Tell us briefly what you're proposing to do.
Yeah, we're proposing to renovate the basement, just to add additional living space in the basement.
So how many units in this building?
Two units.
2 units?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell us about Unit 1.
Unit 1 is occupied by my wife and I and our kids, so
Yeah.
that's why we try to expand it.
Okay.
Then Unit 2 is occupied by my sister.
Okay. And so then tell us about this basement. What are you proposing to put in the basement?
Try to put 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms,
Yeah.
yeah. And what's the floor to ceiling height in the basement?
It's 7 feet 2 inches or so, 8 inches, I think.
I'm sorry?
About 7 feet.
7'4".
Yes, 7 feet 4. Yes.
Design shows 7
Okay. And is there a kitchen in the basement?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate. There's a direct connection from the first floor to the basement.
Sorry?
There's a direct connection from the first floor unit into the basement.
Okay.
And a 7'4" ceiling height. Is adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support. You met with the abutters in the Neighborhood Association, and we're in full support. They were fine with it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Shannon Murphy from City Councilor Matt O'Malley's office. The council would like to go on record in support of this project as well.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Mr. Pisani, is this basement, is there direct access from the basement out?
There is access from the basement up. Correct, yes.
Because the PRA proviso talks about the occupancy not to exceed 2 dwelling units in the future. So I suppose that's what triggers that, that statement.
Yes. But again, I mean, there's a direct connection to the first floor unit. So.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Calling BOA 893-750, 10 Ruthven Park. Ruthven Park. Is Ruthven Park here? I'm sorry, ma'am? Was? Okay.
Okay, well, let's hold it for a minute.
All right, we'll go back to it.
Oh,
Calling the next case, BOA 908-280, 41 Winthrop Street. This is a change of occupancy from a single family to a 4-family and renovate and extend living space into the basement, new dormers, rear windows, walk addition. Violations, Article 50, Section 28. 4 units is a condition on the 3F 4000 subdistrict. Article 50, Section 29, additional lot area is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 50, Section 29, building height is excessive in feet. And Article 50, Section 29, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney John Pulgini, 10 Forbes. Good morning, everyone. Attorney John Pulgini, 10 Forbes Road. With me is Dave France, who's the owner of this proposed project. And thank you.
So tell us what's being proposed.
Sure. The zoning in this neighborhood is 3F 4000 with a lot size of 6,700 square feet. The proposal is to change occupancy from a 1-family to a 4-family. Unit 1 is 1,114 square feet, 2 beds, 2 bath. Unit 2 is 1,214 square feet, 2 bed, 2 bath. And just so you know, those are duplex units, so that's incorporating extending living space into the basement. The ceiling heights in the basement are 8 feet 6 inches. Unit 3 is 1,406 square feet. That's 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. And Unit 4 is 1,327 square feet. And that, again, is 2 bed, 2 bath. The violations on this is FAR. The zoning allows for a 0.8. We're at a 0.92. Maximum height is 3 stories, 35 feet. We're at 3 stories, 41 feet. Rear yard is 6 feet. 17 is required. 6'7" is proposed. And all of those violations, which I just laid out, are all existing violations. So the footprint of this building is not changing. If you look at the plans on the rear of the building, you will see that they're just building up above a space behind it, which would increase that is increasing the FAR. We went through a great community process, have full support. We've provided you with letters of support, as well as a letter from the Civic Association approving the requested change in occupancy.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support the project. He had an abutter in a neighborhood association meeting. We also have a letter of support from the neighborhood association.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Michaela Parkin. I'm here from City Councilor Kim Shinny's office. The developer met with the butters and the community neighborhood associations, and they discussed this project. This is a historical building, and the developers have agreed to put a historical plaque in front of the building to commemorate that. And as long as those discussions are going along, we are in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, about Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, echoing the sentiments of District Council's office. Council would to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Looks like none of these units are handicapped accessible. Just because you have the two bi-level units and there's
On the
no
first floor.
elevator, yeah. There's no elevator in the building.
No.
So in terms of the modifications, the front elevation is going to look relatively unchanged.
It will remain unchanged, correct?
Sort of the historic face of the
Correct.
building on the street.
And that was something through the community process, Mr. Ehrlich, that was very important to them.
That's a good choice to enhance the building.
Well, Ms. Mazzani, did I ask how the plans were?
I'm sorry.
How are the plans?
The drawings are adequate.
Any other questions on the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
I think they just did.
I'm sorry, where am I?
You're outside. You're at the parade. You're at the parade right now.
Let's all go outside. I guess what I'm trying to do is read the plans and do this at the same time. May I have a motion, please?
Motion approval. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Was it design review?
This is pretty natural.
I'll forgive you, Madam Chair.
Probably was it.
Okay, BPDA design review. Just trying to spare you.
And there's a second on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 902-213, 990 to 996 Dorchester Avenue. This is a change of occupancy to include food service catering in one space on the first floor. No work to be done at this time. The violation is Article 65, Section 8. Catering is established is forbidden. Name and address for the record, please.
Julie Border, 996 Dorchester Ave, Dorchester.
Tell us what you're proposing to do.
It's just a kitchen where I would be preparing my food that I would use, catering.
Okay. And what's the name of your business?
It's called Sosabi.
Sosabi, okay. And how large is the space?
It's 500 square feet.
500 square feet. And what's in the rest of the building?
There's a smoke shop next door. There's, I think, tax preparing office.
Okay.
And there's another empty space next to me.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
The drawings are adequate.
Yeah. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Patrick Fandel, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. There was a butters meeting held on December 19th where there was no opposition from the neighborhood. We'd like to go on record in support of this young, vibrant business in the Tavern Hill Commercial District.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Amanda Curley, Council at Baker's Office. We'd like to go on record in support.
Anybody here to speak in opposition? You want to make a motion, Mark?
No, somebody else.
looks like the building has grates on it, so may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Do we want the grates removed? With design review, please.
Design review for the grade.
For the grates, okay? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Can't you
opposed?
just put that as a proviso?
Motion carries. It's all set. Good luck.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 901-760. 760 10 Talbot Avenue. Talbot Avenue here? Okay, here we go. This is parking for 23 vehicles. Violations Article 60, Section 16, a parking lot is forbidden. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good morning. Willie Hicks, 10 Talbot Avenue, Dorchester, Mass. 02124.
So please tell us what's being proposed.
A simple parking lot, Madam Chair, that is adjacent to our property for land that we own, and
What's the name of your property or your business?
It's Hicks Auto Body.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it to the, if you're facing it to the left or the right? The park-
If you're facing our building to the left, there is a parcel of land that we developed.
Oh, good.
How do I do this?
I don't have the fund.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
How did you come up with the 22 spaces?
It just seems appropriate for us because when we...
But there is zero maneuverability.
That is
I mean,
because...
you've simply stacked rectangle upon rectangle without regard to how you get in or get out.
Yes, sir. It's only because all the vehicles will not move at the same time. What we've done
No, I understand that, but
Yes,
I
sir.
have a hard time understanding how you get the furthest vehicle in, which is right up the corner.
Yes, sir. Because most of the vehicles that we'll house are actually an overflow from inside of our edifice. And currently, we are a good neighbor with the Boys and Girls Club, and across the street on any given day, there are 11 to 18 vehicles that we put there only because of the workspace inside of our building. So in front of our building, there are only 8 potential spaces before you get to a no parking zone. And on Harvard Street behind the building, there are only 3 eligible spaces because there is a, as you can see in the diagram, a no parking zone, which really restricts us. So the natural thing for us to do was to make this more useful. Some of the vehicles are personal vehicles, and rather than shuttle them in and out of the building every single day, we figured it's a natural.
Let me just
parking
ask
lot.
you, is this your building?
It is about 10 or 15 years ago, yes ma'am, and that parcel of land next
So
to it.
is that billboard still up there?
No, that's about 10 or 15
Okay.
years ago.
And so where's the parking proposed?
Right in the triangular spot.
This triangular corner? And then
Yes.
who owns all this parking in the rear?
In the rear, it's the towing lot next to us.
Next
That's
to
not
you.
us. We're the building and the adjacent parcel.
Okay.
I don't think Mr. Pizzani was questioning why you want parking. I think he was questioning the reality of being able to get that many spaces.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see what's, can I just scan it, please? Oh, no, the handout? Is that where it, that's it, okay, so sure. Is it there?
Oh,
No, it's there. Okay.
Anthony, can you pass that?
Sure, yeah.
The chair would like to.
Is there any storage within your building for parking any vehicles?
Inside of our facility?
Yeah.
Well, any building, any space inside of our building, ma'am, would be used for parking of clients' cars or personal vehicles. But where it relaxes itself is to be able to utilize the land next to us, which would then reduce the amount of vehicles in the Boys and Girls parking lot, take cars off the street, leave them open for the community at large, because it is the Boys and Girls Club, and there is an ebb and flow of traffic there, and it's a pretty natural
Yeah, because
solution.
we're just looking at the plans and just wondering if there's a a happy compromise in there because, first, generally when there's a parking lot proposed, we request screening and buffering, not just a simple chain link fence. We look for something a little bit, some plantings and things like that. And then if you look at the way the parking, it sounds like you're going to have the equivalent of valet parking or, somebody attending it, but still that's pretty tight. So we just need to figure out what might be a number that might in fact work for you, and we will ask your expertise, Bob, on this. But in the meantime, any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Yes.
The purpose of the additional parking you're requesting, is it for community use or is it for rental or storage?
It would just be for the overflow of vehicles that we have. We've been there, fortunate enough to be there 49 years, so business has grown, and some of the vehicles just can't be kept inside, sir. So all of those vehicles are in. There are 16 cameras where we protect our property, and on an as-needed and selective basis, will we go in and get a client's car when we're ready to come on in and begin work on it. And the other ones that have been done or been fixed will go into the rear of the shop to be finished.
There's no thought of sales or any of that kind of thing off of that lot?
No, the primary focus of this right now is to make sure that we accommodate each and every one of our clients so that there's no nervousness. They want to know where their vehicle is. They look across the street. We got cars piled up at the Boys and Girls parking lot. We don't think that suffices, and we think over the years we have been a good neighbor. We do help them with snow removal. Is to put it on our property since it is adjacent to it and it's not going too far from where we are. We can protect it and take care of it.
Makes sense.
So the bottom line is it's not public parking.
Correct.
It's not open to anybody but your business.
Correct. Exactly.
So it doesn't really make maneuverability somewhat immaterial because it's not being used by anyone else, and you have
100%, sir.
Right, that is correct to a point, but you cannot produce a drawing that shows the impossibility of getting a car in and out, and that is what this does. I think there's a solution to this, and that is that BPD should determine the number of spaces.
Right.
Okay. In the meantime, so please go ahead and support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Whitney Celestin with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, here to speak in support of this proposal. This group met with Common Council on January 2nd. The THC group, Talbot Harvard Triangle group, that's right across the way, was not able to confirm them for their agenda for January 4th, so they requested that they move them to February 7th. So they'll meet with them this week. And we support the idea that they should reduce the number of spots if you feel adequate. And we also would ask for BPDA design review for screening and buffering for this. We support this proposal. There was no opposition at that meeting. No letters of opposition have come in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan. We have Council at Large Michael Flaherty. Council to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to approve parking at this location, number of spaces to be determined by BPD, and with adequate screening and buffering.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask for 11:30. Any deferrals or withdrawals for the 11:30? Councilor, address, please.
605 East 7th Street, Mr. Fortune. There's a zoning,
605 East 6th?
Yes, there's a zoning code and a building code.
Yep. For the record, calling BOA 845-532-605 East 6th Street. We also have a companion case, BOA 845-528-605 East 6th Street on building code. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Madam Chair, members, I'm aware that this is a second deferral request. This will be the final one. My client has been in earnest negotiations with direct abutters for all winter, essentially. We are close to a point where either we're going to have an agreement that has the support of the abutters, or we will be withdrawing and refiling as a zoning compliant ALT, but I would ask for one more deferral at this time.
So, as I had mentioned before, we need to find a date that's in the future enough, so far enough into the future, so that in fact you have adequate time and not before us too soon. So may I first have a motion for deferral?
Motion for deferral.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date,
You have a
please.
date of May 7th. Thank you.
That'll work? Excellent. May 7th at 11:30.
Counselor, address, please.
Good morning, 66R Cambridge Street. This is the first one on the list.
Oh, yep, I see it. For the record, calling BOA 812-800-66R Cambridge Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller, 28 State Street, Suite 802, here in Boston. We're seeking a deferral at the request of the Mayor's Office for further community outreach. We would be more than happy with a date in May as well, if that's available. Anything after April 30th, we think would give us enough time.
What deferral is this?
I believe it's the 6th. I don't think it's the 6th, maybe the 3rd.
Okay. Okay, so may I have a motion, please?
Motion for deferral.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Date, please?
May 7th.
May 7th at 11:30.
Thank you.
Counselor, address, please.
Yes, 761 Washington Street.
For the record, calling BOA 893-819-761 Washington Street. Name and address, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Derek Small, business address of 15 Broad Street, Boston, Mass. 02109. We're requesting a deferral on the case of 761 Washington Street. We're working with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services to schedule another meeting.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion for deferral.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Small, how far ahead? Is May or June more good for you?
The sooner the better, but we'll take a date.
May 7th is where we're going to have to put you.
Okay,
Fine. Thank you.
so we'll see you at May 7th at 11:30.
What's that address?
Okay.
Missed that one.
One more?
Yeah. Going back to the 1030 case for 10 Ruthven Park.
I'm sorry, say it again?
10 Ruthven Park. It
Yes.
was on a 1030 case.
Yep. You already had called it, yep.
Yeah, we're requesting a deferral.
Okay, I'm going to call it for the record. Calling BOA 893-750-10 Ruthven Park. Name and address for the record.
Again, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Derek Small, business address of 15 Broad Street, Boston, Mass. 02109. Here requesting a deferral of this matter.
And may I have a motion?
Motion to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, May date?
The May 7th.
May 7th, fine.
May 7th at 11:30.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Are there any other withdrawals or deferrals or withdrawals for 11:30? Hearing none, we're going to go back to the 10:30 cases. Calling BOA 885-605-83-87 Bowden Street. This is a proposed curb cut for 2 off-street parking spaces for an existing 3-family. The violations, Article 9, Section 1, is an extension of a non-conforming use. Name and address for the record, please.
87 Bowden Street.
Your name, please?
Johannes Joseph.
Okay. Tell us what you're proposing.
Yeah, I'm asking to get the curb cut for the driveway. I have a driveway already, existing driveway, and next door, next by 5 Bowden Street. That's access. I've been getting tickets because I park over there. They told me that you need to have a curb cut. If you don't have curb cut, we're gonna keep
So
giving you tickets.
is there parking on your side of the street? There's
Yes.
parking in front of your house? On-street parking?
Yeah, there's a street parking.
Okay.
But I have a big parking space, and I just need the curb cut so I can park my car there.
This is a 3-family dwelling?
Yes, ma'am.
How are the plans, Mr. Design?
The drawing's adequate. It's a corner lot. The parking is actually coming off of Holiday Street.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
There's adequate room. It's not front yard, it's side yard. It's actually rear yard.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Morning, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Christine Berneo, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I'd like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Partial approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Calling BOA 904-509-364 Gallivan Boulevard. This is to construct a two-story rear addition with new decks in an existing single family. Violations Article 65, Section 9. The side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Glenn Knowles, 9 Monadnock Street, Dorchester, 02125, and with me is the owner, Larry Ward, 364 Gallivan Boulevard, 02124.
Tell us what's being proposed.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. We're looking to add a 350-square-foot, two-story addition to the rear of an existing single-family house.
And it's owner-occupied?
Owner-occupied.
Okay.
The first floor would be enlarging a kitchen and adding a small bath. The second floor would be adding a master bath and closet, and then both floors would have about a 12 by 13-foot deck.
Okay. And the side yard, what's required, and what's this extension going to do to it?
So there is the zoning calls for a 10-foot side yard. The existing wall of the house is 6.7 feet. And what we want to do is align the new addition with the existing wall so that when we enlarge the kitchen, we don't have an awkward L-shaped room.
All the plans, Mr. Bazzani.
Drawings are adequate. Any of the violations are a result of existing.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Patrick Fandel, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. There was an abutters meeting held on December 18th in full support from the neighborhood. We'd like to go on record in support of this project.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Curley, Council of Mayor's Office, we'd also like to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval, BPDA Design Review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, before I go to the next case for 10:30, I do want to discuss two more in 11:30 that I did not mention. Case BOA 764-279-121 Beacon Street. They are withdrawing, so we have a letter, so I'm going to make a motion for denial without prejudice.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And one other case, BOA 900-138-191 Talbot Avenue, is being deferred to 226 at 11:30. So I make a motion for deferral.
Sorry, is that at 10:30s?
At 11:30
Oh, sorry. So it's being...
on 226.
Okay. Is that because of advertising?
Correct.
So again, may I have a motion?
Motion for
please?
deferral.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the date is?
Date was February 26th at 11:30. That's it. We'll go back to the 10:30s. Calling your next two cases, calling BOA 888-984-84 Granite Avenue. There's a companion case, BOA 888-981-114 Milton Street. This is for 184 Granite Avenue. This is to create a new lot, subdivision, and construct a new 3-unit residential building. The violations, Article 65, Section 8, 3 families forbidding in a 1F 5,000 district. Article 65, Section 9, the lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot width is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. This is for 114 Milton Street. This is a subdivision of existing lot at 114 Milton Street into 2 lots. The violations, Article 9, Section 1, the existing building is in a non-conforming 2-family dwelling. Article 65, Section 9, the lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor to area ratio is excessive. And Article 65, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is James Christopher of RCA LLC. We're the project architects with the business address of 415 Ponset Ave. Joined on my right by Michael Dorsey, the property owner, and he is actually, he lives at 114 Milton Street. The current proposal is to subdivide the existing lot which presents some violations with the 114 Milton lot, but we are keeping 2 parking spaces to be an extension of a non-conforming use, keeping it a 2-family, creating a new 2 new lots, one being 3,599 would be the existing lot at 114 Milton square feet, and then the lot 1A, as it's being called on the site plan, would be 3,454 square feet. The proposal is to construct a
hold on right there. What's the required lot area? Is that 5,000?
It's 5,000.
So basically, you're actually providing about half, a little over half.
That's correct.
So tell us about what's the nonconformity that's being created because of the subdivision on the existing building?
So basically, it's the existing building violations of rear yard insufficient. There's no change to that. It exists. The FAR and the use in the lot area itself.
And is this a 1-family or a 2-family?
It's a 2-family.
It's a 2-family. Okay, so now speak to us about Granite Ave.
The proposal is to construct a 3-story residential building with a small residential unit at grade, which is about 697 square feet, 1 bed, 1 bath, with the 2 upper level units being 1,062 square feet, 2 bed, 2 bath units, with driveway access off of Granite Street, Granite Ave. We're about 50 feet beyond the intersection. We have 3 parking spaces with the building being cantilevered at the rear of the property. And the front yard setback follows the model of the existing street alignment.
What's the parking requirement?
I believe it's 1-for-1 in this area, Madam Chair. We're not cited as a violation for parking. We have 3 spaces.
And that's 2 spaces underneath the building and the rear.
All 3 is the last one. If you look at A1, you can see it pretty clearly, Madam Chair. 2 are tucked underneath the cantilever building, with 1 being in the open space at the rear, all full-size spaces.
And is this an elevator building?
No.
Nope, so it's just the
accessible at grade, Madam Chair.
So just first unit is accessible at grade. From the front, yep, from the front, okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Patrick Fandel, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. There was an abutters meeting held on October 15th. We'd like to go on record in support of this project.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Amanda Curley, Councilor Baker's office, would also like to go on record in support.
Okay, is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve BBDA design review.
Second.
So let's just split this up. So 84 Granite Ave, that's the new construction. That's for approval with BPDA design review. And may I have a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 114 Milton Street, it's the existing building. May I have a motion on that? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you for your time.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 898-983, 960 to 960H, William T. Morrissey Boulevard. This is Morrissey Nail and Spa, expansion of an existing nail salon and spa. The violation is Article 65, Section 15. Use of a beauty salon is conditional. Name and address for the record, please.
Morrissey Nail Spa, at 960 Morrissey Boulevard, Dorchester.
What's your name?
My name is Kim. And Andy.
Thank you. Mr. Pisani, how are the plans?
Drawings are adequate.
How many seats does it show? Because this is an expansion.
You want me to count?
No, just a ballpark.
Well, there are 2 waxing rooms, and then there's 2, 4, 6, 8. 28 and 8, 36.
Wow, okay.
Capacity of 36.
Capacity of 36, okay. Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Patrick Fandel, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. There was a butter meeting held on December 12th, and the applicant subsequently met with the Popes Hill Neighborhood Association, receiving their full support. We'd like to go on record in support of this expansion of a great local business.
Can I just ask one question of you? Does it have grates on the front of the building?
No.
No. Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Amanda Fairley, Councilor Baker's office. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 908-276, 872 Morton Street. This is to build a 4-story wood frame residential building for 40 units on 1-story steel frame. The ground parking structure with 30 spots. Violations, Article 60, Section 16, dwelling units on the first floor are conditional. Article 60, Section 17, the height requirement is excessive. Article 60, Section 17, open space is insufficient. Article 60, Section 17, the rear yard setback requirement is insufficient. Article 60, Section 17, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 60, Section 37, off-street loading is insufficient. And Article 60, Section 37, off-street parking is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney John Fulgini, 10 Forbes Road, Braintree. With me this afternoon is Donald Alexis, President of CICD, as well as Lisa Aberghini, President of the Planning Office of Urban Affairs.
I haven't seen you in a while, Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were standing next to me.
No, she's just sitting in the seat back there. So, please, John, go ahead. Tell us what's being proposed.
Sure. The proposal is to construct a new building housing 40 units and 30 parking spaces. The zoning in this neighborhood is neighborhood shopping. The lot size is 34,000 square feet. This used to be the Mattapan Police Station, and now it's just vacant land. The 34,000 square foot lot is subdivided under a different ALT to allocate more than 8,000 square feet for the creation of the Stephen Odom Serenity Garden. This is something that's been a long time in the process in the community to get to this point. The Parks Department, Boston Parks Department actually designed the Serenity Garden and also will maintain the Serenity Garden once it is constructed. The proposal, as you could tell, is a joint venture between the Planning Office of Urban Affairs and the Caribbean Integration Community Development Corporation. Madam Chair, the violations is dwelling units are forbidden on the first floor. There is residential on the first floor, as you know, it's a violation in NS. However, what they did is they moved them to the back. So the front of it is lobby and other entranceway, so it looks more like a storefront. The proximity of this, the location of this project is right on the bridge on Morton Street. So they determined, initially their proposal did include some commercial. However, the community and through the community process, they determined that was not appropriate based on that. The height, zoning allows for 35 feet. We're at 42 feet. Open space is 50 square feet per dwelling unit. As we're allocating over 8,000 square feet to the Stephen Odom Serenity Garden, that would obviously count toward open space, but because we're subdividing, it does not. FAR is a 1, and we're at a 1.67. Off-street parking, it complies actually, because these are deeply affordable units, and under the zoning code, normally would be 1, which
What does deeply affordable mean?
So they would run all the way from 30 AMI to 100% AMI.
30 to 100, and what's the breakdown?
Of the unit count? Sure.
The spread between 30 and 100.
Yep, it's 11 one-bedrooms, and those sizes are approximately 675 square feet. There are 16 two-bedrooms with a size of 860 square feet, and there are 4 three-bedrooms of 1,100 square feet.
And as far as at 30 AMI, is there a math that you've done on how many would be at 30? How many would be at 30? What and what the gradation is?
There would be 31 rental units that would be range between 30% AMI and 100% AMI. There are 9. This is also mixed use. So when I say mixed use, I mean there's some apartments, but there's also home ownership opportunities for people. And there are 9 affordable home ownerships. 5 of those are at 80% AMI, and 4 of those are at 100% EMI. This proposal resulted from an RFP that was sent out from DND. The community process was over 9 months, countless meetings, and this was actually obviously an Article 80 project that was approved by the BPDA at their October board meeting.
Okay.
Including in the packages which I have provided to all the board members are letters of support from neighbors as well as elected officials in the community.
And this is an elevator building.
It is.
And, okay. How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Whitney Celestin with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, here to speak in support of this project. They've done a lot of work with the community, especially the Rock Group that overlooks this area, and they're very happy about the units of ownership that were added to this project. We support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dustin Gardner on behalf of City Council President Andrea Campbell's office. We would also like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, board members, my name is Kelly Shea. I represent the Department of Neighborhood Development, and we are in support of this project.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mayor Perez representing the Carpenter Union, would like to go on record in strong support of this project.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good
Thank you
luck.
very much. Calling the next case, calling BOA 911-937, 41 Westminster Street. This is to confirm occupancy as a three-family renovation and updates to an existing three-family wood frame building. The scope of the work includes an expansion of the third floor unit into the existing attic space and the addition of a three-story exterior porch. The violations, Article 9, Section 1, extensive and non-conforming use. Article 69, Section 8, side yard is insufficient. Article 69, Section 8, rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Mahoney with a business address of 160 Federal Street, and representing my client, owner, and developer, Peter Lavin at 129 Grampian View Ave.
So tell us what you're proposing.
Madam Chair, the proposal here is there's an existing three-family home at 41 Westminster with parking in the rear. The existing footprint will remain the same. The top floor of the existing structure will be expanded to the rear part, so that the third floor will be expanded to match the same footprint and floor plate as floors 1 and 2. Each are now, as proposed, 3-bedroom units. Initially, Unit 1 and 2, as shown on the plans, are 2 bedrooms and a living room that's been used as a bedroom. And the top floor unit is the existing 1-bedroom that will be a 3-bedroom unit. Each unit has 2 bathrooms and is approximately 1,225 square feet. The existing home is as it sits currently, has been abandoned in a dilapidated state, and it'll be restored to its historical luster. The design will be brought back to its initial character with the wraparound porches, and the mansard roof will be continued around the rear. And that's the bulk of our relief, is the rear of the top floor.
How long has this owner owned this property?
Year and a half, 18 months.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Brian Flynn with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. There were 2 abutters meetings held, and the applicant as well as the attorney worked very well with the community. We just want to go on record in full support of this proposal. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Walter Applewhite, Council McCarthy's office. We'd also like to go on record as full support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Go ahead. No.
To approve this
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Calling the last case for 10:30, calling BOA 898-191, 40 Mount Hood Road. This is a combined 20 Mount Hood, 40 Mount Hood, and 6 Egmont into one 75,074 square foot parcel, demolish the existing hotel and construct a new 182,423 square foot multifamily building with up to 151 dwelling units and approximately 151 accessory parking spaces and parking for up to 50 vehicles that is ancillary to houses of worship and the multifamily residential uses off-site. The violation of Article 51, Section 9, the lot area for additional dwelling units is insufficient. Article 51, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 51, Section 9, the height is excessive. Article 51, Section 9, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 51, Section 9, the front yard, Mount Hood Road is insufficient. Article 51, Section 9, the front yard, Egremont Road is insufficient. And Article 51, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney Jay Eigerman, Ruben Junius, and Rose. With me is B.K. Boley of Stantec, the architect, and Christine McMahon of Wharf Partners. It's had extensive community outreach, so we need to have...
Was this addressed before us in the past?
I'm sorry?
Was this addressed before us in the past, not under your ownership, under another ownership?
I don't believe so. There was another project that's right on Com Ave in front of us at 1650. But this is it does business as the Hotel Boston. It's a motel built in the 50s. Big site, 1.7 acres. It's unusual. It also, it slopes. There's a 20-foot drop-off. The current motel is about 74 guest rooms, has 93 parking spaces. The proposal that BK will take you through is for 151 dwellings with 201 parking. You heard when you called the matter that there's ancillary parking. We've been working extensively with the butters to offer a parking resource. So there is a by right training center for rabbis called the Kollel of Greater Boston. We have an agreement with them to provide event parking as ancillary.
Did you say event parking, or just for events, or is it regular parking?
Well, the way that it's up to them when they want to hold the events. They need flexibility. Part of the deal was to, of course, to avoid the Sabbath and so on.
Sure.
So
And it's 50 spaces, is it?
total, yes.
Total
And there are
50
there are other abutters who have rights as well. So they have up to 18 spaces. There's a condo with 56 dwelling units at 35 Mount Hood across the street. We have an agreement with the Board of Managers of the HOA to provide them 34 spaces. 34 spaces.
When was this abutter, when was that building built?
The 35 Mount Hood? I don't know that. I'm sorry.
It's not recent construction, is it?
Oh, well, the one on Com Ave in front of us at 1650 is recent. That isn't within recent years. It may not even have a certificate of occupancy yet. That's a 7-story multifamily. This is one door in on Mount Hood. It used to be that, I believe that was a gas station, and so there was visibility of the Hotel Boston, but it will be blocked now.
Tell us about the unit breakdown.
I'm sorry, the unit breakdown. BK, why don't you take it through that?
So we have 151 units. We have 6 studios that average about 470 square feet. We have 88 one-bedroom units that average around 720 square feet. We have 41 two-bedrooms, around 1,100 square feet. We have 6 3-bedroom units that are 1,200 square feet, and then we have 10 3-bedroom townhomes that front Egremont Street that average around 1,450.
And who do you anticipate renting to? Because there's a number of studios and one-beds, small studios, 470. This is a rental building, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
No, it's home ownership.
Oh,
The entire building, all 51 units, 151 units are owned home ownership. Okay.
And based upon our market research, we thought a mix of 3-bedroom units, a strong amount of 1s and 2s was the right mix, and then a smaller amount of studios.
So the bulk of them are one-bedrooms, 88 one-bedrooms.
That's right.
Okay, so use is forbidden. Tell us what the FAR is that's required.
The FAR is 1. This is an MFR 1 zone. So when we're all done, it'll be around 2.3.
How are the plans was designed?
Drawings are adequate. I do have a question. Are these the latest set of drawings that were approved by BPDA?
I think the gross floor area, when we went to the BPDA in August, we offered to reduce the gross floor area.
Do you have a set of those drawings?
Yeah, we can provide them, yes. We didn't submit them for refusal, so we were going to go ahead with the existing.
No, we,
What's before us right now is not what has been approved by BPDA, is that correct?
The unit count, the parking, but my understanding from the board memo, I brought the board memo, we had offered on the record to go down to 172,000.
And how are you doing that?
We reduced the height of the building from what it was originally.
Okay.
Okay.
So prior to signature, then submit the set of drawings that was actually approved by BPDA. Because this is what, a large project?
Yeah, this is large project, yep. Thank you.
okay. Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go on record of support of this project. They went through extensive community process. They had 3 IAG meetings, met with direct abutters, met with community and religious leaders in the area. They received a favorable vote from the Brighton-Allston Improvement Association August 2nd, excuse me. The third time they had met with them, they had increased the ratio of affordable units to 16%, I believe. They also worked with the Civic to provide funds to a shuttle service, that a number of developments in that area are going to be contributing to a shuttle service to ensure that there's less cars on the road and alleviate some of the traffic issues we have in the neighborhood. So we think that they've checked off all.
Where does the shuttle go to and from?
That's still a work in progress from my understanding. It's a push from the community. Ultimately, it'd be going to Boston Landing to ensure that there's not a ton of cars, winding up on residential streets around that area.
Okay, and there's sufficient parking at Boston Landing to take care of this?
Yes. So, from speaking with other developers, they are, specifically the Alston Yards project, they're working with the MBTA in order to ensure that there's a shuttle drop-off area.
And how is this memorialized?
Pardon?
How is it memorialized? I mean, the concern is that as we had on Warren Street, you have parking with multiple designations, and no one ever keeps track of it. And every project that comes forward to us makes a statement that we have an arrangement with this, and no one does the math to figure out exactly what the cumulative effect of the parking is.
Yeah. Sure. I'd be happy to look into that. As of right now, I don't have the specifics. I just know that Brighton-Allston Improvement Association, every major developer that's gone in front of them, they've been looking to kind of fill this in.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Hold on. Just wait. Hold on. Okay, thank you. Anybody else to speak?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Daniel Polanco on behalf of Councilor Mark C. I'm also like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council Lodge, Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Max Mansour from CW Management, speaking on behalf of Mount Hood Condo Association.
I'm sorry, you're speaking, I'm having a hard time hearing you, sorry.
My name is Max Mansour of CW Management. I'm speaking on behalf of Mount Hood Condo Association. In light of a parking agreement that we've reached with the developer, we are offering our support for the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, minor repairs for the current proceeding, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Did you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that in the large project review, it is memorialized that there must be a monthly payment of $20 per dwelling unit for 5 years for the shuttle service. So that will be put into the TAPA and the cooperation agreement. That's all.
So what happens after 5 years? We are inundated with all this traffic?
Yeah, no, we have we're going to maintain one-to-one parking on the site. So we'll have 151 dwelling units with 151 parking spaces, and then the 50 ancillary for our abutters. There is pretty good green line. We're actually within walking distance of 2 different lines, the B and the C.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
I want to make a motion for approval with continued BPDA design review with a proviso that we're holding signature until you submit the set of plans that was stamped, approved by BPDA.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're all set.
Calling the next case for 11:30, discussion, rediscussions, BOA 831-693, 53 F Street. This is demo an existing single-family dwelling, erect a new 6-unit building. Violations, Article 27S in the South Boston iPod. Article 68, Section 8, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 68, Section 8, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, side yard is insufficient. And Article 68, Section 8, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I'm joined by my client, Mark Little, owner and developer of 53 F Street. Madam Chair, members, the plans before the board show a revised, smaller building through community process. The original proposal has been reduced to what is now a proposal for a new 5-unit building. This is Article 68 of MFR Multifamily Residential Zoning District in South Boston. The building would be 4 stories. There would be 4 one-bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom unit at the top floor. Because of the reduction in the size and density of the building, all zoning violations but 1 that were read into the record have been removed. The project is now zoning compliant with respect to all dimensional and use requirements with the exception of rear yard setback. The rear yard setback here, with the shallow lot exception, is 15-foot minimum rear yard. The proposed rear yard is 7 feet 7 inches. There are 6 parking spaces within the garage. The garage is entered from the Tudor Street side of the building. As I mentioned, 4 one-bedroom units, 2 per floor for the first and second floors. This is a 3-story building. I may have misspoke. A 4-story building, three residential floors above garage. On the first residential floor plan, there are 1-bedroom units of sizes 853 and 890 square feet. On the second residential floor, the 1-bedrooms are 921 and 946 square feet. And then the recessed 2-bedroom unit on the 3rd residential floor, the 4th floor of the building, is 1,161 square feet.
It looks like your ground floor unit is the handicapped units, 2 of them.
I'm sorry?
Looks like the ground floor, both the units are handicapped units, handicapped accessible units.
Yes, that's correct.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate. The roof deck is for the exclusive use of the top unit, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, you've spoken, you've basically half the required rear yard. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. This initially started, as the proponent stated, as a larger building. There was opposition to aspects of that, so they did make changes to address concerns, including reducing the unit count, replacing some of the windows on the side with block windows to eliminate privacy concerns, and making it fit in better with the surrounding area. Thank you.
Madam of the Chair, members of the board, Anna Calderon from Councillor Flink's office. The councillor would like to go on record in support. There were some concerns at the beginning of the community process. They worked that out with the direct abutters and also City Side Neighborhood Association. Now both parties are happy with the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council Michael Flaherty. Just due to the communal effort that went into drafting Article 68, the council is unable to support the project, but will leave it to the board.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve BGB and design review.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 867-200, 447 West 4th Street. This is to demolish an existing single-family, build a new construct 2-family dwelling. Violation Article 68, Section 33, off-street parking requirements insufficient. Article 68, Section 8, floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 68, Section 8, the height is excessive, 40 feet is the max. Article 68, Section 8, the rear yard setback is insufficient. And Article 27S, Section 5, this is in the South Boston iPod. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Madam Chair, members, this is a proposal to demolish an existing single-family building, replace it with a new four-story, two-family building. The ground floor would be a two-car garage. There are two bi-level units. Unit 1 would be a three-bedroom unit, approximately 1,394 square feet, split between the first residential floor and the second. And Unit 2 would be a 1,359 square foot building, also split between the second residential floor and the third residential floor. That would also be a three-bedroom unit. There would be one roof deck per unit for exclusive use of each unit. The approximate sizes are 12 feet by 11 feet. This is also an MFR district, multifamily residential, within Article 68. The FAR is 2.13. The maximum allowed in Article 68 is 2.0. There is no height violation. The maximum height of the building is 39, just under 40 feet. It's 39.93, as shown on the dimensional table attached to the plans. There is a 15-foot rear yard setback requirement here. The proposed rear yard setback is 5 feet.
And did I see roof decks on this? No? Yes.
Yes, there are two decks. Page A2.1. There is head house access to the roof. This is a four-story occupied roof, therefore building code requires penthouse access. There is screening of the roof deck shown on the proposed elevation on 8.21, which shows essentially a 3-foot wall around the roof deck. This was at the request of abutters and neighbors. I admit it looks a bit odd.
It's such a beautiful building, and then you put this thing on top.
I admit it's a bit odd. It was put on at the request of abutters at a meeting that was held last night.
Okay.
So from last night and tonight and today, they took through this?
I believe the concern was sound baffling.
And that deck would be accessible just by the top unit again?
So there are two decks, Unit 1 and Unit 2. If you go to A.1.2, Unit 1 roof deck located to the rear, approximately 12 by 11, and then Unit 2 roof deck to the front of the building, same size.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
I think I said there was a demolition here. This is an ALT. This is an alteration and change of occupancy, not new construction.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, we would like to go on record in support. There were, at the initial meeting, there were some concerns around the roof profile of the building. This is an area that typically is not supportive of roof decks, and the concern is typically noise, so I think that's where the wall is coming from. Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition to this proposal? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve BPDA design review.
Second.
Do we want concentration on that roof profile?
George's roof parapet.
So there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Calling the next case, calling BOA 850-023, 175 Howard Avenue. This is erect a new two-family dwelling. The violation is Article 50, Section 29. The lot area for additional dwelling unit is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the lot width is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 50, Section 29, the front yard setback is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the side yard setback is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Hugo Correa-Fiu, 300 Second Ave, Needham, Massachusetts. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, member of the board. We are trying to build a 3-story, two-family property with a garage for 2 cars. We figure this way we don't add more cars to an already packed street.
How many, I'm sorry, how many spaces in the garage?
Two, for two cars, yes.
okay.
So one car per unit. The first unit will start on the first floor behind the garage. The first and second unit are split on the second floor, leading up to the rest of the second unit being on the third floor.
Is there a roof deck proposed?
Excuse me?
Is there a
There
roof
is not.
deck? Okay. Let's see.
There's a deck on the second and third floors.
Is this a vacant lot?
It is.
Narrow lot. What's the size of the lot?
It is a narrow lot. That's the problem that we're having. It's shaped very awkwardly.
I have a question for you. The
Yes, sir.
drawings are dated 2016.
Yeah, we've been.
Are these the accurate and appropriate drawings for what you're actually proposing, or have there been changes from that time?
No, they are the accurate to what we were proposing. We've been trying to do this for a while. We actually bought this lot of land with the plans, and there were variances in place, but due to the process of buying the property, we lost those variances right after we acquired it.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
So what year was that approved by us?
It expired in March of last year, so,
So
2
March.
years. 2 years before that.
This night lasted 18, so 16.
16, yeah.
Okay. Okay, how are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
And these are the very
These are.
same plans. And any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jessica Thomas with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and we'd like to go on record to support the project. It's currently a vacant lot. It gets a lot of trash, so adding the two-family would help with that, help with the empty space. Thanks.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Mr. Pisani, how does that garage work?
Pretty well.
Yeah?
No, it's fine.
Okay. May I have a motion, please? Motion to approve with BRA design review. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling your next case, calling BOA 769-207, 32 to 34 Tolman Street. This is to extend existing three-family dwelling at the rear, repair an existing internal stairs, and add a new egress stair, and construct proposed 22 by 24 addition to the rear of the property, extend living area to the basement from the first floor. The violation, Article 9, Section 1, extension of non-conforming use, 3F and a 2F subdistrict. Article 65, Section 39, screening and buffering, none is proposed. Article 65, Section 41, the design of the proposed parking spaces are encroaching into the required front yard of this corner lot. Article 65, Section 41, off-street parking is insufficient in loading. Article 65, Section 9, the number of allowed stories has been exceeded, 2.5 stories is the max. Article 65, Section 9, excessive FAR. And Article 65, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Lyons. I'm an attorney with an office at 80 Copeland Street in Quincy, Massachusetts. With me, I have Min Hugh Lee, the owner of record of the property and a resident there for approximately 15 years, and Edward Roach, the architect.
Tell us what's being proposed.
Well, this project's been under consideration for over 2 years. The current iteration, after multiple abutters meetings, has resulted in a proposal to reduce the addition from what was originally applied for down to 2 stories and a footprint of approximately 15.6 by 30 feet.
Sorry, 15.6 by 30 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
There were concerns expressed, and we appreciate and respect the immediate abutter's opposition. His concern was that the proposal originally was too big. And in looking at it, we agree that it was too big. There were also concerns expressed by some people in the neighborhood that the addition of 4 family rooms for a 3-family dwelling could lead to additional bedrooms being constructed. So that concern has been alleviated by removing the 3rd floor family room. The configuration as proposed here does extend into the basement, but the 2nd and 3rd floors would be combined into a duplex unit, so that each of the 3 units will now have a single family room. And that's the essential purpose of this proposed project. This is a house that was built sometime in the late 1800s. The earliest thing I can find in the jacket is a confirmation of occupancy in 1919 as a 3-family. And like many other houses that were converted in Boston through the years, it doesn't meet current standards, and we're not seeking to change the occupancy in any way, just give each unit a little more breathing space, make it a little more habitable. There's no other way to describe it. We do meet the off-street parking requirements. It has met those from the beginning. And the building is located on a corner. Tolman Street's a fairly busy street. It connects the Ponset Avenue with Morrissey Boulevard. But the adjacent street, Bloomington, is a fairly quiet street. There is legitimate on-street parking there, in addition to the parking provided on the lot, which is in compliance with the code requirement. So now we're at the point where the immediate abutter is opposed. We don't deny that. And again, we respect it, we understand it, we've had ongoing discussions. We thought when we reduced the size of the proposal that we were responding to the concern that it was too big. He felt it was looming over his yard, and I can understand that. But I think now a 2-story addition, which is drawn, I dare say, by a competent architect, it's compatible with the existing colonial architecture of the building and the streetscape. And I think with proper landscaping treatment, the privacy of the next-door neighbor could be respected, and the proponent could be allowed to grow into her own home and remain there comfortably. Beyond that, it's essentially a case of a simple addition of family rooms onto an existing 3-family house.
Okay, so tell us what the sizes are of each unit.
I'll defer to
the sizes of each unit. The garden level is, with existing and new, is 1,373 square feet. First floor, the same. Family room addition in the rear is 1,400 square feet. And the upper, the 2nd and 3rd floors are a total of 2,100 square feet.
Okay. And let's see, does this, one of the violations say that you're providing front yard parking?
That's because it's a corner lot.
Okay.
And
I can't tell from the site plan, where is the curb cut? Is it on Bloomington?
it is on Bloomington, yes, at the rear of the property.
Parking on Bloomington? On-street parking on Bloomington?
Yes.
Bloomington Street, it's on the corner.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal? Who's in support? Going once? Is anybody here in opposition?
We did submit 3 letters of support from abutters representing a total of 5 parcels. One owns 3, and 2 other owner occupants signed. They're not here today because they work.
Thank you. Are you speaking in opposition? Please put your name and address on the record.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Patrick Fandel, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Although this did go through a robust community process, including multiple abutters meetings and meeting with the Pope's Hill Civic Association, we still feel that the overall scale and design of this project is not conducive to the neighborhood. We'd like to go on record in opposition to this project.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Amanda Curley, Counsel at Baker's office. We'd also like to go on record in opposition.
Hello. My name is Eileen Sullivan, and I'm here representing my parents, Ed and Ruth Sullivan of 28 Tolman Street. By way of background, my family has owned and occupied 28 Tolman for over 70 years. My parents' property has homes
Excuse
on
me,
either...
ma'am. Can you, don't read to us, please. Just tell us point by point what your concern is.
Okay.
Okay.
So my parents' home abuts the property in question, which includes, as these gentlemen had said, a building of a 2-story addition and a roof deck. The community has been very engaged in the abutters process. There's several opposition letters on file, including that of the Popes Hill Neighborhood Association. And my parents have also submitted a letter of opposition, but I just wanted to highlight a few of the main points. We wanted to highlight that the variances proposed are excessive for a 5,000 square foot lot and are uncharacteristic of the neighborhood. The new building essentially consumes the existing backyard and removes all green space from the property. It encloses my parents' yard, giving a fortress-like effect and represents significant privacy issues. My parents are next to a corner lot and therefore have a home at the rear of their property, and this addition will essentially block them in on 3 sides, including their own property. 32 Tolman being a corner lot, this building will block the ocean breeze and expansive views currently enjoyed by surrounding properties of both Bloomington and Morrissey Boulevard. We have concerns about precedence, density, and the impact to our property values. We also have had legitimate concerns around the impact of foundation digging and water table disruption to our basement. We have endured several years of unsightly conditions as a result of the indoor work that has occurred, and the impact and safety conditions of this addition, whereby the owner is planning to do the construction himself. Prior work has been cited by the city for code violations. And although Mr. Lee has modified the plans, I believe it's important to note that the original plans were outrageously egregious. We believe this was a tactic of demonstrating compromise to gain favor with the board. We're not unreasonable people. We have not opposed the indoor work, despite the conditions. We strongly believe the building addition should be unbundled from the indoor work in this proposal. My father and mother desperately wanted to be here to explain this to all of you. They use walkers and have limited mobility. The parade outside made it unsafe for them to be here. In closing, my parents, who are 84 and 86, want to preserve their property value and enjoy their home, especially since their backyard is their main refuge for close to 6 months of the year. And this will significantly impact their quality of life. For this reason, we implore that you deny the variance associated with the proposed addition and roof deck, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Very briefly. This building is currently in compliance. It's been inspected. All work has been done to code. There was some structural work done. There were structural engineers' stamp drawings in the jacket, if you wish to look at them. Again, I do understand and respect the objection of the immediate abutter. It's a matter of opinion. I think that, first of all, the drawing, the planning of this addition, the location of windows, there are only 2 windows on the 2-story addition to provide required light to stairwells. So there won't be any windows looking into this, into the rear yard of the abutter. I think that looking at this newly designed and constructed addition will be a better view than the existing deck and vehicles which are visible now. And that a row of arborvitae and some flowering trees which are proposed and which are shown on the current plan would do a lot to mitigate any feelings that they're somehow being closed in. Again, it's a matter of opinion. This was not a case of starting with something outrageous and settling on something reasonable. They just wanted to try to maximize the use of the lot, and understood as the process unfolded that that was not acceptable to the neighbors, it did not fit. But I think that what's there now really does fit reasonably, not only with what immediately abuts this property, but with most of the properties in that neighborhood. It's simply a matter of improving the habitability to current standards.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Yes. No, hold on.
First of all, my information was that the Pope's Hill Neighborhood Association did not go on record as opposing this project. Secondly, if you look at this, the whole site, granted, originally, Mr. Lee and Mrs. Lee, their project was ambitious, and we went back and looked again at making about 4 or 5 adjustments to the plans that you'll see on drawing X2, and ultimately we're here about the latest ideation, which was developed on the 5th of December of this past year. And I would say that absent the illustration of parking, that the overall site hasn't really changed one bit. The proposed addition on the especially on the second level would be, if you consider that there's an existing porch in the back that is very unsightly, that this property was in very, very disrepair over the years when the Lees acquired it. They've lived there for 15 years, and with the existing porch, this is basically a net extension of about 7 feet to the rear of the property.
Okay, thank you. Can we have clarification, please, from the mayor's office? What was Pope Hill's opinion?
They submitted a letter of opposition this morning, which was submitted to Stephanie. So we have to get to record.
So it was this morning?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, given all this information,
Madam Chairman?
last comment, please.
We attended a meeting of the Pope's Hill Civic Association, correct, Councilor? And we were told at that time that the Civic Association, and this probably doesn't matter, but there's been so much duplicity on this project. It's been very, very
your understanding from your meeting there that there was support. Okay.
My understanding is that there was no support.
Yep.
But there was not a vote of opposition either.
Let's stop right
Not
there.
in support.
May I have a motion, please, given this information?
I move denial.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed. Opposed.
Motion doesn't carry. May I have a new motion?
Motion for approval.
Second.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to request that this be deferred to, so let's just look at this. That motion doesn't carry either, so the project is denied. Okay, so it's denied, so we'll see you at a future date possibly. Okay, because we don't have a full board, and that's the issue. Okay.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 894-291, 62 Fairmont Street. Fairmont Street here. Call the next case. BOA 848-647, 82 Glencliff Road. This is off-street parking for 2 residential vehicles. The violations, Article 67, Section 32, off-street parking, 67-32-.4, location. Name and address for the record, please.
Peter Cepeda, 82 Glencliff Road. Michael Smith, 82 Glencliff Road. The proposal is for a residential driveway for removing 2 vehicles off the street, off-street parking for 2 vehicles.
So why were you deferred the last time?
Sorry?
Why were you deferred the last time?
The last time was because our previous plan actually had a portion, the driveway was two side-by-side vehicles. So a portion of it was in front of the house. So what we've done is we've taken the advice of the group and we did a redesign with a tandem parking design in place. Thank you. I think we've addressed.
Were you at the Thursday subcommittee
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, originally. Oh, yeah.
That
Last year.
quite a while ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's actually not tandem parking, it's side-by-side parking in the front. Originally, you came in with parking on the left, parking on the right. So you now moved it to two spaces on the right.
No, now it's a tandem parking spot, so it's only one lane with space for two vehicles. Right.
Yeah, that works a whole lot better. How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Ferreting through them. Yeah, they're fine. It clearly shows tandem parking on the right.
Thank you.
Fine.
Your grade is almost as bad as mine. Your driveway grade.
Roslindale. It's challenging,
Roslindale,
but we
that's
do
true.
love it there.
Yeah. Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Joe Coppinger from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support of this project.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of the Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
To approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm going to call that the last case.
Thank you so much.
You're all set.
Have a great day, Chair.
Fairmont Street here. I'm going to make a motion for denial without prejudice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And just let me clarify for the moment, before we need to take a 10-minute break. Is everybody in the room here for the interpretations? Yes? May I have a showing of hands who's here for the interpretations? Oh, okay.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
you just have to call in, before we do that, let me call in the one that's been withdrawn, and then,
So my understanding is one of these has been withdrawn. Is the applicant here who is withdrawing? Is the person here who's withdrawing one of those cases here? Okay, let's read that into the record.
I'm going to call it in for the record. This is the interpretation, BOA 897-122, 115 Federal Street. We have a letter of withdrawal, so we're making denial, make a motion for denial without prejudice.
Mr. Fortune, is the applicant, which applicant?
The applicant is M&M Real Estate.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Motion for denial without prejudice.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
I
carries.
will, you want me to call them up so they can sit at the table?
So yes.
I will call the case if you guys want to sit at the table. We're going to take a 10-minute break after, but BOA 897-118, 115 Federal Street, 75101 Fed is the owner. The petitioner seeks determination that the inspectional service were erred in issuing a permit.
Okay, so please have a seat at the table. In the meantime, we will reconvene at 1 o'clock.
Get done. May 7th. May 7th. May 7th. Thank you.
We are here to listen to the interpretations. May I have the representatives of 75 to 101 Fed owner? You're at the table. Who represents the owner of the building?
I do, Madam Chair. My name is Lisa Goodhart. I'm a litigation partner with the firm of Sugarman Rogers. With me today is my partner, Dylan Sanders, and we also have with us Mr. Daniel Dom from Rock Point, who's principal that represents our building, and we have my co-counsel, Rebecca Lee, who's been involved with this from the beginning.
So you're the owner of the building?
I am counsel for the owner of the building.
I'm sorry,
yes.
And who put in the request for the interpretation? Is there legal counsel here who put in a request for interpretation?
Madam Chairman, I believe it is counsel here that put in the appeal.
And please, you're from the building departments. Please put your name and address on the record.
Yes, my name is Kim Tai. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Plans and Zoning, and my address is 1010 Mass Ave, Boston 02118.
So please, Counselor, tell us why you're here.
Yes, I will, and thank you very much. And I will try to be brief. I know I'm standing in the way of the Patriots parade. This is a matter of great importance, and I will refer, with your permission, to the owner as Rock Point for short. The legal name of the owner of the building that abuts the Winthrop Center is 75-101 Fed Owner, LLC. But I'll use Rock Point because it's easier to say, and I'm referring then to the owner of the 75-101 Federal Street property. I have submitted to the board today a memorandum supported by 3 affidavits. One from Mr. Dom that describes the history of his involvement and the discussions of his concerns. The other 2 are from engineers, backed up with a lot of detail. I assure you I'm not going to use my time to try to give you a tutorial on engineering, but those materials are there to back up what I'm going to summarize for you in layperson's terms.
So the purpose of this is that the petitioner seeks a determination that ISD erred in issuing the permit FND 870088. The permit was issued as an allowed use. What specifically are you alleging that ISD erred on?
Yes, I will address that. I neglected to say at the outset that our strong preference would be to continue this for 30 days so that the board need not wade into these technical details and make a decision. And the parties have been making good progress on an agreement, and the concern has been expressed in what the developer filed today, that they need to push forward because their lender won't fund while they have a pending permit appeal. My suggestion is that the fastest way to make this permit appeal go away is to give us a short period of additional time so that we can continue to negotiate. We have been negotiating in good faith and made excellent progress, but because we don't have a signed agreement here today, we have no choice but to go forward and place before you the error that I'm now going to describe. So that's the first request.
Okay, so please go ahead and tell us what brings you here.
Yes. The permit is improvidently granted because it does not include an appropriate special condition to protect our building, 75-101 Federal, from potentially catastrophic damage that could occur if the construction activities of the developer pursuant to the permit result in differential settlement at an exceedingly fine fraction of an inch to our building, or total settlement in a slightly greater margin. And there are provisions of the building code that we called out in our brief that require for a project such as this that there be appropriate protections of the adjoining property. We don't believe we have the appropriate protections in place, and we are presenting a very small, modest ask for an essential protection against the kind of catastrophic harm that could happen that threatens the structural integrity of our building, which is fully leased with many tenants whose business operations depend on being able to come to work each day. So I will tell you what the request is.
Hold on 1 minute. Is a representative of MCAF Winthrop LLC in the room?
Yes.
You are. Can you hear adequately?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
So go
I
ahead.
want to tell you what we're asking for specifically by way of an amendment of the foundation permit. And I do want to make clear, we are not challenging the fact of the foundation permit. We are not challenging what is in the foundation permit. We are here on an appeal because something essential is missing from the permit. And we're asking this board to consider our information and the materials we've presented and to remand this back to the ISD with directions to the commissioner to impose a very specific, very narrowly tailored special condition that should be added to the permit. That requested condition is set forth at page 10 of the memorandum before you. And I will just tell you while you look at it, it's very simple. It says that if, despite all of the fancy modeling and all of the expert work that's been done by a team of crack professionals on the developer's side, if nevertheless, during the course of construction, the sensors that we have placed in our building detect movement that exceeds 0.3 of an inch at certain locations, and up to 0.6 of an inch in other locations. If those margins at the specified locations, which are detailed in a site plan that's attached to our brief as well, if those thresholds are breached, all we want is an immediate and very temporary stop work to be put into effect so that the developer can talk to ISD, the developer can talk to us, everyone can huddle and on an expedited basis decide what needs to be done. But we don't have from the developer, unfortunately, a voluntary agreement to stop work if we get into what our experts tell us are the danger zone. And so we need that relief to be provided by the city. We are entitled to have our building protected. I think it's inappropriate for the building owner to bear this huge risk that something bad could happen. Mistakes of this kind with fancy nonlinear modeling of structural engineering with exceedingly fine margins for a 700-foot tower that's going to be 4 stories below ground, much deeper than our building's garage. Mistakes do happen. The margin of error is so small, and we think that it's essential that we have this protection. And I would note, if you consider the consequences of not requiring this necessary protection to us, then we are all just crossing our fingers and hoping and trusting that the developer's team got their design right and that everything goes perfectly during construction. I don't think that's reasonable for us to bear that risk. No one hopes more than we do that their modeling is right. They say this is all unnecessary. We're never going to get to the danger zone.
So let me just ask you, so this is a request for this monitoring to continue throughout the entire construction process of Winthrop Square?
The monitoring is in place. Okay. Their team has installed sensors. Our team has installed sensors. We're sharing information. We want them to have every bit of knowledge we have, because if there is any settlement, we want them to know right away. So it's not about establishing the monitoring. It's about what to do if the monitoring shows results above a certain threshold.
Okay. Hold on. Let's question.
Yeah. So I mean, this is not that uncommon a situation where there's a large hole in the ground in a dense urban environment where you've got adjoining buildings and people are always worried about foundation work is going to. So I'm a little puzzled that there isn't a remedy here. First of all, there's multiple adjoining buildings, not just 75101. Where are they?
Well, they don't have the acute problem that we have with the particular location of our buildings.
I'm not so sure about that, but in any case, they're not here.
Well, they're not here, and it's not just a worry. It's our engineers.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So let, excuse me, Mr. Ehrlich has the floor.
So you've got sensors and you've got sensors, and you're sharing the information about the sensors.
Yes.
So is the only dispute what the threshold of action is?
Yes,
Or
they have
is
no
there-
threshold of action.
Okay, but you think the quality of their sensors is fine, you think the quality of their sensors is fine. So it's simply, what we're talking about is what would trigger a stop work order.
In the highly unusual event.
No,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah,
got it.
that's it. That's it. It's just about the stop work
I'm
order.
from the construction world. I totally, this is not that complicated an issue, actually. So when ISD issued the foundation permit, and you're only talking about this for the duration of the foundation permit or for the duration of the entire job?
Well, right now, what's on the table is the
No, no, no.
foundation permit. When we get to the next permit, we will be looking for similar
Okay.
protections.
Okay, short answers are good, so for the whole project. What is ISD's position on this?
So just to take a step back to address some of the issues that council has brought up. With respect to requesting a continuance, ISD's position is that whether or not the appellant and the applicant are in a private agreement is outside of ISD's jurisdiction and is not relevant to the issue that was raised in this particular interpretation as to whether or not the building department erred in issuing the foundation permit. So that's our position for the continuance.
Let me just follow up on that. So if they were to reach an agreement, but it had nothing to do with the issuance of your permit, it would just stand?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. With respect to the second discussion of the protections of the adjoining property, ISD has a very consistent process and policy regarding the issuance of foundation permits. Typically, an applicant has submitted to us sufficient plans as well as certified engineering drawings and affidavits to conclude why they should be able to move forward with a foundation permit. I know that Commissioner Christopher, as well as myself and the plans examiners, did meet with the design professionals, reviewed all of the information that the applicant submitted to us, and we also met with the abutters design professionals, read their certifications as well. ISD does not take a position regarding construction methods so long as it's in compliance with the building code. Where there are two conflicting construction certifications between an appellant or an abutter that's at issue, the applicant does assume all liability with respect to any damage that they create to a property. To be more specific with respect to what council's talking about a stop work order, our position would be that it would be premature to issue a stop work order at this point. ISD is confident that we issued the foundation permit correctly with the correct approvals and reviews, and that if there is any indication from either the applicant or from an abutter that there is irregular settlement, that we would naturally issue a stop work order as we have with any other project in the city of Boston.
So in other words, if you felt that the data was presented to you that showed the damage was being done to an abutter's building, you would issue a stop work order?
Absolutely, and we have done that in the past.
Yes, I'm completely aware of that. And what would be the thresholds that you would use to make that determination? If they just came to you and said, oh, there's a problem, you wouldn't just take it at their word, right? So what would you use?
No, so we would look at what the monitored levels state, as well as what the design affidavits that are submitted to us that state why it is irregular.
So the applicant here, the petitioner here, is looking for very specific thresholds. Is that something that you would be on a regular basis be looking at on other projects anywhere around the city?
For larger projects, yes, where there have been evidence of settlement or there's an indication that there may be potential damage to a property considering the density of that particular area and the size of that project, we do keep very close monitoring levels ourselves and based on our own thresholds, based on our certifications as building officials.
And how do your thresholds compare to the applicant's threshold?
I was just given this packet this morning, so we would have to take some time to review that. But again, you know, it's normal ISD procedure for us to review reports from abutters with respect to property damage and making those assessments ourselves.
Okay. And regardless of whether this board takes an action on whether ISD erred or not, if your client was to determine that there was a problem, you would have right in court to litigate over that issue.
Yeah, my response to that, number one, is litigating after the fact.
No.
That's number two. If we go to ISD and say we've hit a danger zone, here are our numbers. They are going to need some time. There's not a chart, you know. And meanwhile, the construction would be proceeding.
No, I understand.
That's the issue. That's why we want to get it done.
Look, you would like to have it in advance. And
yes.
I get that. This construction project has been going on now for some time.
Yes.
Based on your sensors and the developer's sensors, has there been a problem yet?
I would say that we also monitored their demolition.
Can I get yes or no on that question?
My colleague tells me there isn't a problem yet. If I may, I'd like to add something.
No, actually, it was a yes or no question.
Then the answer is no.
And from your point of view as owners, MCF Winthrop LLC, have you come close to those points or trigger points?
Yes, Your Honor. Bruce Falvey for MCAF Winthrop LLC with my partner John Radigan. We have an engineering dispute. They have the engineering firm of McNamara Salvia, which did the design for the building. We have our design engineers. We have structural engineers who did a nonlinear analysis, which is different than designing a building, which determines what stresses an existing building can take. Because there's still a disagreement, even though we showed them the appropriate nonlinear analysis, we had a peer review done by structural engineers Simpson Gumpert, who are renowned in the field, and we have a representative, Pedro Cifra, here today if you want to hear from him. He has determined that the impacts that will be experienced by 101 Federal are normal, typical for construction in Boston, and will not cause damage to the building. We obviously have higher limits that we say would be a problem. The problem with tying our hands, putting a handcuff on us, is that their limits are artificially low. And I have engineers today. I have Elizabeth Mulge from Thornton Tomasetti, who performed the nonlinear analysis. I have Damian Siebert from Haley and Aldridge. And again, I have Pedro Cifra here if you want to delve into the engineering details. But they're minute. They're the effect of the weather on a given day. The foundation wall next to their property that they're most worried about is 65% complete. And the sophisticated monitoring systems that we agreed to share with them show negligible impacts that are nowhere near the levels that they say are dangerous. They admit that so far, so good. So what they're trying to do is tie our hands. We've heard from Ms. Ty that the building commissioner, of course, always has the authority to issue a stop work order. But what they're trying to ask you today is completely unprecedented. And they admit it, but they say it's a very unusual situation. It's not an unusual situation. This is a situation common to every big building that goes up in downtown Boston. This is what the building commissioner is supposed to do, to call on his experience to see whether the building code has been complied with or not. There's no instance that we have found where an abutter has come to this board with this type of appeal. There are no court cases about it. They cite none. They are going to tie our hands in a way that makes it impossible for us to build our building in a way that we're entitled to build because it's a permitted use. We have a foundation permit, and the commissioner, in his good judgment, saw fit not to impose such a condition after he met with them and heard from them. And respectfully, you should defer to his determination, and neither should you insist on this unprecedented condition.
Thank you. Comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
First of all, it actually is an unusual project in the sense that this is the largest, tallest building that's ever yet going to be built in a dense midtown block. Okay, there are other tall buildings, but right close to the building, this is very different than usual. Second, what we don't know what the city's thresholds are. I suspect that if we came to them with our numbers, they'd have to do some analysis. We know that the developer's numbers are higher than ours. What we don't want to do is get into a battle about what should be the threshold and what should we do in the heat of the moment. It is much more appropriate to send this back to the commissioner and say, since there's no agreement, and since there's an obligation under the building code to protect the adjacent properties, I'm going to put in this condition what the threshold will be.
But you also said earlier that you're in negotiations at this point that are going well in good faith, which I presume would establish thresholds that you agreed on.
They would, and it is my first preference to complete that process. And we are here because we don't have agreement to seek a continuance, and so it's incumbent upon me to present our case, perfect our record, go to court if I have to. But my first preference would be, can we have a timeout and have you reserve your judgment while we continue that good faith process? Because I think that would lead to a resolution of the whole thing and a withdrawal of the appeal.
If I may, with respect to establishing thresholds would be unprecedented for the building department to adhere to. We use our judgment as building officials to make sure that any construction is being done in compliance with the building code. The other thing is that it has not, it's not unusual where in an emergency situation where we issue a stop order first, and then we do the investigation to determine whether or not we should allow them to continue. The third point that I would make is whether or not the applicant and the appellant here come to an agreement with respect to those thresholds, that does not mean that the building department will adhere to those particular thresholds, because we ultimately have the authority to make that determination as to whether or not those methods and construction is safe.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make the following motion. I'm not convinced that the ISD erred. I believe that they issued this in accordance with standard practice. However, it does seem to me that if the private parties could work out something, that would be better for everybody. But as the ISD representative said here, even that wouldn't necessarily mean that ISD would be bound by it. So I am going to make a motion that we defer this for 30 days, so that
Let's defer it to the next board meeting, which
Okay.
is at the end of the month.
That's fine.
May I be heard on this subject?
No, I'm in the middle of making a motion. So that at the next board meeting, so that hopefully that grants time for the parties to work something out. If it doesn't, then we will take definitive action, and if it does, well, that would be all the better. So my motion is for a deferral to the next board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.